Chapter 850. Tearing Space. Yi Chen could now do it as well. He could feel that the sword tip seemed to have broken through some kind of barrier. The sword's speed and might kept increasing, as if that pitch-black crack was increasing the speed of the evil vanquishing sword. Pa! The giant wolf evil spirit's right claw collided with the evil vanquishing sword. However, there was no earth-shattering sound. Instead, it was like a glass bottle shattering. Of course, it was not the glass bottle shattering, but the space shattering. The giant wolf evil spirit and Yi Chen both had the ability to tear space. When their powers collided, it was almost equivalent to the full power attack of an ordinary life and death king. For the first time, the giant wolf evil spirit was repelled by Yi Chen. Of course, Yi Chen also retreated 100 steps. Right now, my offensive power is equal to its, but in terms of battle technique, it is far inferior to me. A smile appeared on his face as Yi Chen's figure flickered, shooting toward the giant wolf evil spirit with a speed surpassing his previous speed. Wherever he went, the space would wrinkle. The giant wolf evil spirit had no intelligence and didn't know what emotions were. Seeing Yi Chen's attack, it immediately steadied its body and met him head-on. Spiritual sword. When the distance between the two was less than 100 meters, Yi Chen suddenly thrust his sword and flicked his wrist. Puff 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 puff, countless tiny cracks appeared in the void. Before the giant wolf evil spirit could even approach, it was already riddled with holes, as if it had turned into a sieve. However, top-level evil spirits were not so easy to kill. These injuries were not fatal to the giant wolf evil spirit, making it hard to disperse. Opening its huge mouth, the giant wolf evil spirit spouted a light ball containing life and death chi toward Yi Chen. The light ball pierced through the void and appeared before Yi Chen in a flash. Waning moon. Yi Chen drifted back in the air, slashing the evil vanquishing sword horizontally. The black waning moon split the light ball into two, and the powerful sword energy similarly pierced through the space. The giant wolf evil spirit could sense the change in Yi Chen's power. It opened its huge mouth and shot out light balls condensed from the power of life and death towards Yi Chen. Faced with these numerous balls of light, Yi Chen didn't dare to be careless, and he released his sword domain. Under the envelopment of the sword domain, even space seemed to have become much sturdier. As the balls of light pierced through space, their might was greatly reduced, and their speed was also reduced by several times. Thus, they were sliced apart by Yi Chen one after another. At the same time, Yi Chen quickly approached the giant wolf evil spirit. While it was absorbing the life and death chi of the heaven and earth, Yi Chen slashed out with his sword. It was bewitching mirror shattering. The giant wolf evil spirit was sealed in a special space. When the space shattered, its body also shattered, turning into thousands of pieces like a broken mirror. The power of the bewitching mirror shattering was already extremely horrifying. Before Yi Chen had reached the level of tearing space, it already had the destructive power to shatter space. Now that his cultivation base had reached the second level of life and death challenge, the power of the bewitching mirror shattering had increased, allowing him to kill the evil spirit with one sword attack. As soon as the evil spirit died, the life and death token floated out of its body, emitting a special vibration. Finally killed, Yi Chen let out a sigh of relief. If the evil spirit still hadn't died, he would have no choice but to take out the Sky Scorpio sword and directly kill it. After all, he wouldn't be able to make successive breakthroughs in a short period of time, and the evil spirit would only get more and more powerful as it battled. With a wave of his hand, the life and death token landed in Yi Chen's hand. After carefully examining it, Yi Chen put it into his storage ring. The first life and death stone helped me break through to the first level of the life and death challenge. Although the second one did not help me break through, under the pressure, I still managed to break through. Adding this life and death stone in my body, I still need 3 more life and death stones to break through to the third level. Once he left the secret realm, there would be a huge problem waiting for Yi Chen. Yi Chen couldn't relax at all, as he had to get 3 stones within the time limit. Let's keep hunting. The evil spirits in the core area are very limited. After killing all of them, I can only go to the life and death palace to try my luck. With a flash of his body, Yi Chen disappeared from where he was standing. Blood Skyland, Thousand Wolf Plains, White Wolf Martial School. As one of the top 10 beast martial schools, the White Wolf Martial School had a huge building area. There were 3 inner and 3 outer layers, and most of the outer layers were werewolves. The lowest among them was rank 5. Although they couldn't transform into human form, they could all walk upright due to some special methods, which made them in between human and wolf forms. Although there were also werewolves in the inner layers, some of them could transform into human form as well. Being able to transform into human form meant that they were definitely at rank 7. Hey! Why is Wolf Warrior back? Isn't the life and death secret realm not over yet? Something is not right. Could it be that Wolf Warrior was killed in the secret realm? That is possible. All of the wolf beasts discussed among themselves, looking horrified. Wolf, what is going on? Inside a palace in the core area of the White Wolf Martial School, a white-haired elder walked out. The elder's eyes were green, and his pupils were vertical. Shoo! Wolf Warrior turned into a beam of light and landed on the ground. Great Master, I have been killed. Wolf Warrior's face was full of shame, but it was also filled with uncontrollable anger and frustration. What? Who killed you? Is it our Blood Sky Land? True Spirit Land? Or Sky Sword Land? The elder's face was dark and serious. It was a human, right here in our Blood Sky Land. Human, the human martial geniuses in our Blood Sky Land who can kill you are only the 4 demons. Among them, Ling Hui should not be your opponent. Undying Demon Lord, Tai Quangzuan, and the Demon Lady Blade. They should know the rules of the Blood Sky Land, right? Wolf Warrior shook his head, not them. It is a human I have never seen before. He seems to be related to the Demon Lady Blade, Lan Sanmai. He is wearing blue robes, and his weapon is a sword. He looks to be in his early 20s. No matter who he is, I will make him die without a grave. If he has a martial school in the Blood Sky Land, then my White Wolf Martial School will destroy his martial school. The elder said with a cold tone. Tiger Roar Mountain, Sky Tiger Beast Martial School, inside the Sky Tiger Palace. The one who killed you is not one of the 4 demons, but a human sword artist. And he is related to the Demon Blade Martial School's girl, Lan Sanmai. Damn it. The leader of the Sky Tiger Beast Martial School happened to be in the sect. Seeing young Tiger Warrior's sudden return, he was extremely shocked. After asking, he found out that he was killed by a human sword artist. How could he not be angry? Go into seclusion first. Don't come out until you reach the 3rd layer of Life and Death Challenge. This is your punishment. The leader of the Sky Tiger Beast Martial School said coldly to young Tiger Warrior. Yes. Young Tiger Warrior also knew that he was killed because he was not powerful enough. Therefore, he was willing to accept the punishment. However, he still hated Yi Chen a lot. If he had not been killed, he would have had the chance to find enough life and death stones and reach the 3rd layer. Inside a valley in the core area of Life and Death Secret Realm, Feng Piaoling had just killed a relatively powerful high-level evil spirit. He was quite lucky, as there was a life and death stone inside the evil spirit's body. Seems like I have hope to reach the 3rd layer. Feng Piaoling merged the life and death stone into his body. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, his body froze. In the sky above the valley, a teenager in green robes had appeared out of nowhere. Although he did not have a sword in his hand, that intense sword intent had already locked onto Feng Piaoling. As long as Feng Piaoling moved his body, the teenager in green would definitely attack him. Sword Realm Artist, it is you. A hint of bitterness appeared on Feng Piaoling's face. Sword Realm Artist was one of the top 10 sword warriors of the Sky Sword continent, ranked 4th on the Life and Death Realm substitute list. Last time in the Life and Death Secret Realm, Feng Piaoling had seen his power. In other words, besides Luo Tianju, no one in this true spirit continent could be his opponent, not even him. Do you want me to do it, or do you want to kill yourself? Sword Realm Artist said lightly. Although I am not your opponent, it is impossible for me to kill myself. The bitterness disappeared from Feng Piaoling's face as he said with a low voice. Very good. It seems like you are not that weak after all. Sword Realm Artist waved his hand and 4 top-rank great swords appeared in front of him, floating in the air. Run. Without thinking, Feng Piaoling turned around and tried to escape. If he fought with Sword Realm Artist, he would definitely die. But if he ran, there would still be a chance. Shoo! Feng Piaoling was good at the wind profound, so his speed was extremely fast. It was only a flash, but he was already hundreds of miles away. It was as if the wind had become his support. Do you think you can get away? Sword Realm Artist lifted up his eyes as he put up his right index and middle fingers, then pointed at Feng Piaoling who was in the distance. Shoo! 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 4 top-rank great swords shot out at lightning speed, forming a flying sword spell. 1 sword was in the front, while the other 3 were in the back. Outside of the sword spell, there was a blue-colored whirlwind. It was this whirlwind that made it even faster. Wind sword spell. Pooh! Feng Piaoling's speed was very fast, but the wind sword spell was even faster. The sword spell flashed once, and a huge hole appeared on Feng Piaoling's back and chest. His body started to fade out slowly. Even a semi-extreme rank armor could be pierced through so easily. Sword Realm Artist, you are indeed powerful. Alright, once I get back to the true spirit continent, I will do Yi Chen a favor. Smiling bitterly, Feng Piaoling's body disappeared, leaving only a life and death stone floating in the air. Sword Realm Artist flew over slowly and made a grabbing gesture, causing the life and death stone to merge into his body. The true spirit continent has fallen. Luo Tianju, I wonder how powerful you are now. It is Feng Piaoling. From afar, Yi Chen saw Feng Piaoling's body get pierced through and disappear from the life and death secret realm. Then, a teenager in green appeared there. Using the defensive sword spell to control the sword spell? Yi Chen flew over quickly. Achem? Sword Realm Artist turned his head and looked at Yi Chen with a weird expression. Normal people would not even have the time to run after witnessing his power. But now, Yi Chen was approaching him with a hint of killing intent in his eyes. The second level of the life and death challenge. Your cultivation is not low. Unfortunately, you are too stupid. Sword Realm Artist turned around and looked at Yi Chen coldly. Tell me your name. I do not kill people without a name. Yi Chen said, you should be Sword Realm Artist from the Sky Sword continent, right? Yi Chen had heard Feng Piaoling mention the 10 Sword Realm before. It seems like you know who I am. Sword Realm Artist flicked his eyebrows. Indeed, I am Yi Chen, the one who will kill you. Chapter 851. Kill me. I am afraid that you do not have the power to do so. The Sword Realm Artist was ranked 4th in the Life and Death Realm substitute list. His cultivation had already reached the 3rd level of the Life and Death challenge. Combined with the power of the Sword Realm, even warriors at the same level as him would be killed by him. And Yi Chen's cultivation was the same as Feng Piaoling's. It would be good if he could take 3 attacks from him. Oh yeah. Yi Chen did not say anything. I can tell that you are also a sword user. Take out your sword. Otherwise, you will not even have the chance to take out your sword. The Sword Realm Artist could sense that Yi Chen's sword intent was indeed very powerful. Perhaps, it was what he was relying on. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful his sword intent was, it would not be able to make up for the gap between their cultivation and attacking methods. Yi Chen shook his head and smiled. His body suddenly leaned forward, flying toward the Sword Realm Artist at an extreme speed. In the middle of his body, he took out his evil shattering sword and stabbed out. Spiritual sword attack. The distance between the two was still 100 meters, but once Yi Chen threw out his spiritual sword attack, it was almost negligible. The moment the evil shattering sword stabbed out, that hair-thin sword chi had already reached the Sword Realm Artist. A pitch-black hole appeared in the midair, landing on the Sword Realm Artist's protective Jin Yuan layer. Swoosh! The protective Jin Yuan layer was punctured. What? The Sword Realm Artist was shocked. That sword attack of Yi Chen's was not only extremely fast, but also untraceable. What was even more horrifying was that it had pierced through the space. With such a horrifying attacking power, how could he not be shocked? Break. Right then, the Sword Realm Artist realized that he had underestimated Yi Chen. Compared to Feng Piaoling, Yi Chen's power was way more powerful, and he could even pierce through the space. Having no time to use his Sword Realm, the Sword Realm Artist reached out his right index finger. The tip of his finger shone with a silver light, looking like it was made of metal. He then pointed out his finger heavily on that hair-thin sword chi. Yi Chen squeezed his eyes. This sword realm artist was indeed a top sword artist of the Sky Sword continent, being able to stop his spiritual sword attack in advance. Of course, it was also related to the distance. If he performed his spiritual sword attack at a close distance, unless the sword realm artist's attacking speed was the same as Yi Chen's, he would not be able to block it. Chin. Puchi. The tip of his finger came into contact with the sword chi, and sparks burst out. Then, a small hole was pierced through the tip of his finger, and blood spurted out from the small hole. Not good. The sword realm artist could feel an extremely horrifying shapeless sword chi entering his body through his fingers. Once the sword chi entered his body, although he would not be severely wounded, he would definitely suffer from internal injuries, which would decrease his battling power drastically. It was not something he wanted to see, so he was a bit regretful. He should not have been careless. Backing out quickly, the sword realm artist grabbed his right arm with his left hand and pushed out his Zhen Yuan, forcing out the invisible sword chi that had invaded his right arm, not giving it a chance to attack. Forcing out the sword chi, the sword realm artist raised his head and looked at Yi Chen with a serious expression. Although he had been careless and hadn't used his sword formation, that finger attack of his was a move that he was proud of. It was called the Silver Light Golden Finger. The Silver Light Golden Finger wasn't a profound martial art, but a mid-tier heaven-class secret art. It was extremely powerful, but Yi Chen's sword move was clearly above the Silver Light Golden Finger, causing him to suffer a little. Quite an impressive finger technique. Yi Chen was a bit surprised. Although the power of the spiritual sword attack was not as powerful as the waning moon and the bewitching mirror shattering, it was still not something that normal people could handle. The fact that the sword realm artist was able to cancel out half of the spiritual sword attack's power must have something to do with this finger art. Very well. I admit that I have underestimated you. Your power is way more powerful than Feng Piaoling's. Waving his hand, 4 top-rank great swords floated in front of him as he said word by word. Bring out your most powerful power. Otherwise, the battle will be over soon. To be honest, Yi Chen was a bit excited. He had never seen anyone use a sword spell as an attacking method. Although the Sky Sword artist from the True Spirit continent had used a sword spell as well, that sword spell used energy as the core. It did not contain any defensive sword spell, nor did it contain the profound mysteries of the sword spell. How arrogant you are. The sword realm artist was furious. He had always been the one looking down on his opponents, but he did not expect to be looked down on by Yi Chen today. He decided to use the sword spell to kill Yi Chen slowly, instead of killing him right away. Otherwise, it would be too easy for him. Wind sword spell. Pointing out his sword finger at Yi Chen, the sword realm artist yelled. Shoo. 4 swords, one in the front and the other 3 at the back, looked like wings in the sky. Surrounded by the blue tornado, they flew toward Yi Chen at an extreme speed. This sword spell not only contained the power of the sword spell, but also his powerful sword intent. 27 sword attacks at the same time. Yi Chen looked calm as he pointed out his sword finger as well. The broken blood sword on his waist took out of its scabbard automatically. It divided into 27 sword shadows and attacked toward the wind sword spell. He knows the defensive sword spell as well. The sword realm artist was shocked. Unfortunately, my defensive sword spell combined with the sword spell has increased its power and speed by a couple of times. Just the defensive sword spell alone would not be able to compete with it. The sword realm artist was also a soul warrior. Of course, his soul was only twice as powerful as normal people's, which was not as powerful as Yi Chen's 5 times. But even so, it was already enough for him to be proud of. Pap. The sword formation of wind clashed with the 27 sword shadows. Countless sword lights burst out in the void. The sharp sword chi cut the valley into pieces, making it a mess. The 27 sword shadows were even more powerful than the wind sword spell. After breaking through the spell, there were still dozens of sword shadows shooting toward the sword realm artist. Impossible. No matter how hard the sword realm artist thought about it, he could not understand why the wind sword spell was not as powerful as Yi Chen's defensive sword spell. He obviously knew how powerful the defensive sword spell was, since he had also trained it before the sword spell. Pap. One wind sword spell could not compete with Yi Chen's defensive sword spell, so another 4 high-rank great swords appeared in front of the sword realm artist. The wind sword spell shot out and destroyed the remaining dozens of sword shadows. Taking back the 8 high-rank great swords, the way the sword realm artist looked at Yi Chen was different. The latter's power was way beyond his imagination, and it could not be calculated with common sense. The wind sword spell is only my weakest sword spell. Let's see how you are going to handle my wind storm sword spell. Chin. Inside the sword realm artist's storage ring was a huge amount of top-rank great swords. A dim light flashed once, and another 8 top-rank great swords appeared. These 8 swords were just like the previous ones, all with the wind element. They could bring out the power of the wind element sword spell to its limit. Go. The 16 swords formed a sword spell that was 10 times more complicated than the wind sword spell. It was like a tornado, attacking toward Yi Chen. The whole sky and the ground were filled with the intense sword chi, and the wind started to roar. 39 sword attacks. Although Yi Chen's achievement in the defensive sword spell was not unprecedented, at least until now, no one had been able to surpass him. Sichu Hao, who had exchanged the defensive sword spell with him, had only reached the level of 19 sword attacks. 39 sword shadows shot out with a speed that was not slower than the windstorm sword spell. Boom. 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 The power of the windstorm sword spell was not to be underestimated. This time, the two were evenly matched. The windstorm sword spell and the 39 sword shadows had all been shattered, and the great swords had been blown back. What kind of realm has this guy's defensive sword spell reached? The sword realm artist had a bad look on his face. Because he did not spend all of his effort on the defensive sword spell, he had only managed to reach the level of 25 sword attacks. But it was already quite good. Plus, the sword spell did not have a high requirement for the defensive sword spell, because the sword spell was a whole, not a single sword. 25 sword attacks were already enough for him to perform any sword spell he had learned. Looking at the 16 wind element great swords floating in front of him, the sword realm artist looked embarrassed again. Among these swords, some of them had been damaged, and their power had been reduced drastically. Plus, he did not have all the top-rank swords in his storage ring, so he had spent a lot of time collecting them. Shoo. Putting away all of the wind element great swords, the sword realm artist took a deep breath and waved his hand. 36 top-rank great swords shining with thunder light appeared. My most powerful sword spell is the thunder sword spell. If your defensive sword spell is only at this level, then you will die for sure. The sword realm artist said with a cold look. I have said it before, bring out your most powerful power. Otherwise, this battle will be over soon. You are looking for death. The sword realm artist groaned. The thunder element great swords in front of him quickly formed a lightning-like sword spell. As the sword spell was formed, a huge amount of thunder and lightning gathered together. After being strengthened by the sword spell, its power continued to increase. The sword light in front of the sword spell kept on shooting out, causing the space to crack open and turn pitch black. Look. There is a huge battle over there. It is the sword realm artist. Who is the other one? The huge battle had attracted 2 people nearby. They were both sword artists, and their sword aura was extremely powerful. If there were people who knew them, they would be able to tell that they were the giant sword artist and the short sword artist from the Sky Sword Continent's top 10 sword artist. It is Yi Chen. I did not expect to see the most legendary sword art genius of our true spirit continent here. On the other side, 3 people had appeared as well. They were all from the true spirit continent, just like Feng Piaoling and Ji Hairuo from Luo Tianju. They were all top warriors of the previous generation, and were on the life and death realm substitute list. As for why they recognized Yi Chen, it was because they had seen Yi Chen's picture before. This is not good. Yi Chen's opponent is the sword realm artist, who is ranked 4th on the life and death realm substitute list. Even brother Luo might not be able to win against him. Yi Chen is still not mature enough after all. The bulky teenager frowned. Indeed. But Yi Chen being able to force the Sword Realm artist to use his Thunder Sword spell is already extremely powerful. All he is lacking is his cultivation. The three were worried. Haha, this brat is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, the Sword Realm artist's Thunder Sword spell is his most powerful sword spell. I am afraid that one attack would be enough to kill this brat. The giant sword artist rubbed his chin as he chuckled. Aren't those some old friends from the True Spirit continent? Wait until the Sword Realm artist kills this brat. We cannot let them go. The short sword artist's eyes landed on the three from the True Spirit continent. Above the valley, the Sword Realm artist and Yi Chen were a couple of miles apart. Die. Pointing out his sword finger, the Thunder Sword spell shone with a bright thunder light, attacking toward Yi Chen within a second. The whole world was dyed a dark blue color with lightning flashing everywhere. Chapter 852. The Wind Sword spell and the Windstorm Sword spell were wind element sword spells, which required a very high level of mastery in the Wind Profound. On the other hand, the Thunder Sword spell was a thunder element sword spell, which required an even higher level of mastery. If the mastery was not up to par, then the Thunder Sword spell would have a flaw, and its power would not be able to reach its limit. Even the Sword Realm artist did not know how powerful the Thunder Sword spell was, because in order to push it to its limit, the mastery of the Thunder Profound would have to reach completion. Right now, the Sword Realm artist had only learned 90% of the Thunder Profound. But of course, compared to 10 years ago, he had improved a lot. 10 years ago, his Thunder Profound was only at 70% completion. Although his Thunder Profound was only at 90% completion, combined with the Thunder Sword spell, its power was still not something normal warriors at the third level of the Life and Death Challenge could handle. Once the sword spell appeared, the whole place was filled with thunder sounds. Endless thunder yuan qi gathered on top of the sword spell, causing it to change drastically. Pop, 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 pop. The space kept on shattering as the Thunder Sword spell attacked toward Yi Chen like lightning. What a powerful sword spell! I am afraid that even the Sword Snake spell would not be able to compete with it. The defensive sword spell had a lot of attacking sword spells, and the giant sword spell was one of the simplest ones. However, the Sword Snake spell could only be performed after all 33 swords had been performed. Just like the Sword Realm artist's Wind Sword spell and the Thunder Sword spell, the Sword Snake spell actually contained some of the profoundness of the sword spell as well. If one Sword Snake spell is not enough, then I will use two. Thoughts spun in his mind as Yi Chen put up his index and middle fingers, pointing toward the incoming Thunder Sword spell. Chin, chin. The Broken Blood Sword and the other semi-extreme rank sword, the Black Scorpion Sword, took out of their scabbards automatically. The two swords turned into 33 sword shadows, which then combined in the air and turned into two sword snakes with a cold light. They twisted together in a spiral shape, looking like two huge silver snakes. Looking from afar, the sky was filled with sword chants. Rumble. The Spring Thunder Sword formation clashed with the two sword snakes, causing the space to distort and shatter. The vast sword light flattened the entire valley. The few sword lights with the strongest power left deep sword marks on the ground, like abysses. High up in the sky, thunder and lightning flew everywhere, and the sword chi crisscrossed. It was a scene of doomsday. The Spring Thunder Sword formation was, after all, the strongest sword formation of the Sword Realm artist. It would be hard to resist it with just the Sword Snake art. The Spring Thunder Sword formation, which was much dimmer than before, broke through all the obstacles and continued towards Yi Chen. A sword formation is a sword formation after all. Shaking his head, Yi Chen held the evil vanquishing sword in his right hand and pulled it out. A black crescent sword energy landed on the Spring Thunder Sword formation and forcefully split it open. Hualala! Countless swords flickered with electric light as they flew about chaotically, and half of them were chipped. Come back! The Sword Realm artist was shocked and angry. He immediately called back all the Thunder Elemental swords. As the Thunder Elemental swords returned, the Sword Realm artist glanced at them and said angrily, "Damn it! Among the 36 Thunder Elemental swords, 13 of them were chipped and had dimmed. Impossible! The Sword Realm artist's Spring Thunder Sword formation was broken?" Marquis Giant Sword's face was full of disbelief. his mouth unable to close. He can actually use the defensive sword art in 2 places at the same time. Where did this guy come from? Moreover, that last sword attack seemed to be catching up to Marquis Swordstar's moonlight cut. Marquis Short Sword said seriously. On the side of True Spirit Continent, the muscular youngster sucked in a deep breath. Unbelievable, truly unbelievable. No wonder the legendary martial genius title had fallen on Yi Chen after Xianhu, and not Dugu Ju or Dantai Mingyu. Back when he was a disciple of a rank 9 martial school, he had never tasted defeat. After arriving at the Sky Martial region, he even managed to suppress geniuses like Dugu Ju and finally reached the top. It has only been a couple of years, and even the young geniuses of our generation can no longer suppress him. The geniuses of the previous generation were naturally not as talented as the geniuses of the new generation. But they had more time to accumulate. Logically speaking, it would still take a couple of years for the new generation to catch up. But it was obvious that Yi Chen had already accumulated enough in a couple of years, and did not need to wait for a couple more years. Impressive. The other 2 forced a chuckle, feeling a bit more respect for Yi Chen. Flying sword spell. Sword Realm Artist was also a straightforward person. Seeing that even his most powerful Thunder Sword spell could not do anything to Yi Chen, he immediately took out 12 intact wind element greatswords, forming a sword spell that looked like a flying bird. The sword spell appeared under his feet, carrying him as he flew out at an extreme speed. Within a second, he was already in the sky. Yi Chen did not expect Sword Realm Artist to leave this easily. Plus, this flying sword spell was way too fast. Even if he chased right now, he would not be able to catch up, since the speed of the sword spell was not that much slower than his defensive sword spell. This kind of person is indeed troublesome. Putting the evil shattering sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen turned around to look at Marquis Giant Sword, Short Sword, and the other 3 from True Spirit Continent. Let's go. Marquis Giant Sword and Short Sword's expressions changed as they hurried to fly out. Their power was not at the top, and encountering Yi Chen would only result in death. Plus, there were still 3 old friends not far away. You sure run fast. The bulky teenager sneered. As a martial genius of True Spirit Continent as well, Yi Chen did not ignore the existence of the 3, so he walked up. These 3 were the top martial geniuses of True Spirit Continent. Together with Luo Tianju's Feng Piaoling and Ji Hairuo, they were known as the True Spirit 7. They were all in the Life and Death Realm substitute list, and each of them had a very powerful background. They all came from rank 5 martial schools or families. The bulky teenager among them was called Qin Tianxiong, who came from the Qin family, which was second only to the top 4 families. Yi Chen, if you do not mind, how about we search for the Life and Death Palace together? Qin Tianxiong suggested. All right. Yi Chen faintly nodded. After killing the giant wolf evil spirit, he had obtained another Life and Death stone, so he was still lacking 2 stones. Moreover, in the core region, almost all of the high-level evil spirits had been killed. Rather than wasting time searching for high-level evil spirits, it would be better to try his luck in the Life and Death Palace as soon as possible. After all, the closing of the Life and Death Secret Realm was not far away. Seeing Yi Chen agree, the 3 revealed joyful expressions. In truth, the 3 of them naturally did not fear any high-level evil spirits. However, if they ran into a peak-level evil spirit, 1 or 2 of them would die. Now, with the addition of Yi Chen, even if they ran into a peak-level evil spirit, they would be able to contend for a while. Perhaps, they might even be able to kill a peak evil spirit and obtain a Life and Death token. The Life and Death Palace was located in the core region, so it was not too hard to find. The 4 flew towards the core region side by side. It was unknown whether it was Qin Tianxiong's group's bad luck or Yi Chen's good luck, but after advancing for about 5,000 li, the 4 encountered 2 high-level evil spirits and 3 high-level self-destructing evil spirits. Apart from Yi Chen and Qin Tianxiong, the other 2 had their bodies pierced through by an evil spirit while the other was blown up by a self-destructing evil spirit. Due to the sudden turn of events, Yi Chen did not have the time to rescue them. The situation is different from last time. Last time, there were not so many high-level evil spirits gathered together. Qin Tianxiong's face was unsightly. Be careful. Yi Chen reminded him. The Life and Death Palace was a huge palace with interweaving black and white colors. Its scale was enormous, and one could not even see the edge of the palace. It was like a huge city. On the plaza in front of the palace's entrance, many young experts had gathered. The young experts who could stay in the core region and come to the Life and Death Palace were naturally extraordinary. They were all elites among elites, experts among experts. Among them, there were 7 from Blood Sky Continent: Young Elephant, Young Snake, Young Eagle, Young Undying Demon, Tai Quangzuan, Lan Sanmai, and Ling Hui. On Sky Sword Continent's side, there were 6, 3 of which were Marquis Sword Realm, Marquis Giant Sword, and Marquis Short Sword. On True Spirit Continent's side, there were the most: Luo Tianju, Ji Hairuo, Bai Wuxue, Lu Xiaoyu, Xia Hozuan, Xiao Chuhe, Du Guju, Dantai Mingyu, Chu Zhongtian, and Yang Fengfeng. Apart from the 3 continents, there were also close to 10 people from overseas. 2 of them were acquaintances of Yi Chen. One was Yu Bingxin's aunt, Yu Lingshuang, and the other was the Crown Prince of Blackwater Alliance, Wang Taiyi. So many experts. Wang Taiyi's complexion turned somewhat unsightly. Admittedly, some of the young experts in front of the Life and Death Palace were lucky and didn't encounter any great danger. However, most of them had relied on their own strength to enter. There were a few that even made Wang Taiyi feel a trace of fear, such as Young Elephant Lord of Blood Sky Continent, Sky Sword Continent's Spruce Youngster, and True Spirit Continent's Luo Tianju. These 3 had already reached the peak of the 3rd layer of Life and Death Chamber, and their auras were frightening. Sure enough, there's always someone stronger. I wonder if Yi Chen made it in. With his potential, it shouldn't be difficult for him to enter the core region. I'm just afraid that he might encounter some super experts and get killed. Yu Lingshuang's arrival in Life and Death Palace was largely due to luck. She naturally didn't doubt Yi Chen's potential. However, in Life and Death Secret Realm, before one's strength reached its peak, one still needed a bit of luck. If one's luck was bad, and he ran into a high-ranking Life and Death substitute list member, everything pointed to disaster. Swish. Behind the numerous young experts of Blood Sky Continent, a figure shrouded in golden flames rapidly approached. Faintly, it seemed to be a woman. En. Everybody's gazes turned over. However, not a single one of them recognized the newcomer. Of course, apart from one person. It's her. Wang Taiyi's eyes narrowed. When entering Life and Death Secret Realm, he had encountered this woman and was even forcefully knocked away, causing him to suffer a small loss. Naturally, he had a deep impression of her. Humph. She actually passed above Blood Sky Continent's people. I'm afraid she's going to suffer. Wang Taiyi sneered. Come down. Young Snake Lord had a gloomy and cold temperament. Behind him, a huge 9-headed snake phantom appeared. The phantom was 300 meters tall, and one of its sinister-looking serpent heads charged toward the golden flames. Peng! Amidst the golden flames, Xu Jing stretched out her hand and grabbed the serpent's horn. With a forceful shake, the horn shattered inch by inch, and the frightening power spread to the serpent's head, shattering it along with half of its body. A powerful chi fluctuation spread out like a tsunami. Who is this woman? So powerful. Even young Snake Lord can't stop her. Everybody was astonished. Chapter 853. Having lost face in front of everyone, young Snake Lord felt very embarrassed. However, he didn't dare to continue looking down on Xu Jing. Each head of a 9-headed snake had its own unique ability. The long-horned head that had just been destroyed was the strongest of the 9 heads. It specialized in strength, and in the Blood Sky Continent, other than young Elephant Lord, no one dared to ignore the attacks of the long-horned head. But facing Xu Jing, it couldn't even block a casual shake from her. It could be seen how terrifying her strength was. Wind, rain, thunder, ice. Young Snake Lord roared. 4 heads of the 9-headed snake phantom stretched out and shot wind blades, water balls, lightning, and ice at Xu Jing. The 4 energies were clearly separated. Even a 3rd-layer Life and Death Chamber expert would have to retreat, not daring to face them head-on. Break. Golden flames gushed out from Xu Jing's body. Her long hair fluttered in the wind as she punched out. The space suddenly shook, and several pitch-black holes appeared. After a sky-shaking explosion, the four energies were repelled by Shu Jing's attack. What a powerful strength! On Blood Sky Continent's side, everyone was discussing spiritedly, especially young Elephant Lord, whose eyes lit up. He was different from young Tiger Lord. The battle elephant bloodline in his body had already returned to its ancestral state, and was exactly the same as his ancestor, the ancient battle elephant. He was born with boundless strength, and a single punch of his had the force of over 1,000,000 jin. Shu Jing's strength made him eager to hunt. My battle elephant clan worships strength. Strength is everything. This woman's strength is no small matter. Moreover, she seems to be a demonic beast as well. Young Elephant Lord's eyes flickered as he looked at Shu Jing. Now, let's see how you block. Young Snake Lord was in a difficult position. He somewhat regretted provoking Shu Jing, but since he had already made his move, he couldn't give up halfway. Otherwise, others would think that he was afraid of the opponent. Leaping up, young Snake Lord unleashed a ferocious attack on Shu Jing. A huge 9-headed snake phantom appeared behind him. The 9 heads danced in the air, twisting the space around them. Each of the heads possessed a unique ability, such as ramming, spitting out various types of energy, or opening their mouths to produce an unparalleled suction and binding force. The 9-headed serpent was one of the top demonic beasts in the ancient era. Even though young Serpent Lord only had half of the 9-headed serpent's bloodline and was considered a perfect demonic beast, his comprehension ability far surpassed demonic beasts. That was why his battle prowess wasn't any weaker than powerful demonic beasts. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to fight against young Elephant Lord. Bang! 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 The golden flames around Shu Jing's body were a result of her vital qi reaching the pinnacle. Not only did her punches and kicks contain boundless might, but they were also as fast as lightning. No matter how fierce young Snake Lord's attacks were, he couldn't break through her defenses. Instead, she forced him to retreat, unable to stand stably. Too powerful. The spectators' mouths slightly opened. Who was young Snake Lord? He was an existence ranked 7th on the life and death substitute list. Those who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him could be counted on one hand. However, Shu Jing was clearly a newcomer. She seemed to be in her 20s, yet she could suppress young Snake Lord. Eat my fist as well. The golden flames erupted as Shu Jing roared and punched at young Snake Lord. In an instant, the sky darkened and stars flickered like a galaxy. In the pitch-black galaxy, a planet shattered, and its location was right in front of young Snake Lord. Block for me. Young Snake Lord's eyelids twitched crazily. This was a sign of danger. He crossed his arms, blocking his chest and head. At the same time, the 9 heads of the 9-headed snake phantom interwove and formed a huge barrier in front of young Snake Lord. Rumble. This fist art was too tyrannical. The 9-headed snake phantom shattered layer by layer, ultimately landing on young Snake Lord's protective Jin Yuan. The protective Jin Yuan shattered, and young Snake Lord's crossed arms immediately transmitted an earth-shattering power. This power had already surpassed young Snake Lord's limit. How could he block it? His feet rubbed the ground as he shot out. Puff! After retreating for 10 li, young Snake Lord spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his complexion turned pale gold. Young Snake Lord had been defeated. Wang Tai's scalp went numb. He rejoiced inwardly that he hadn't provoked the opponent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to block Shu Jing's final fist. After all, he was still lacking compared to young Snake Lord. After defeating young Snake Lord, Shu Jing directly flew toward True Spirit Continent's group. She's from True Spirit Continent. Luo Tian was astonished. Du Guju, Chu Zhongtian, and the rest creased their brows. Since when had another monstrous genius appeared on True Spirit Continent? Moreover, she seemed more ferocious than anyone else. At the very least, neither Du Guju nor Chu Zhongtian had the confidence to defeat her. Haha, Luo Tian, your True Spirit Continent isn't bad. A super powerful newcomer has popped out of nowhere. What? You don't seem to recognize her? Young Elephant Lord was somewhat astonished that Shu Jing could defeat young Snake Lord. However, He was confident that he wouldn't lose to anyone, including Luo Tian. Luo Tian smiled indifferently. Young Elephant Lord, my true spirit continent has a lot of newcomers. You'll get to see them if there's an opportunity. Is that so? Then I'll wait and see. Young Elephant Lord didn't really care about Luo Tian's words. Don't tell me that all the newcomers of True Spirit Continent have the strength of young Snake Lord. Don't joke around. In Sky Sword Continent's square formation, the spruce-like youngster smiled. Life and Death Palace will open in a while. A life and death token can only allow 4 people to enter. When peak-level evil spirits appear, we should discuss the distribution in advance to avoid disputes. Almost no one could kill a peak-level evil spirit alone. If they wanted to kill a peak-level evil spirit, they would have to work together. Usually, a peak-level evil spirit would appear before the opening of the Hall of Life and Death. Marquis Swordstar, how do you think we should distribute it? Young Elephant Lord asked. Marquis Swordstar was ranked first on the Life and Death substitute list, head of Sky Sword Continent's 10 swords. His strength was unfathomable, and he was the most apprehensive young expert. Marquis Swordstar said, how about this? Our 3 continents will have 3 formations, and the ocean continent will have 1. 4 formations will take turns. Let's start with True Spirit Continent. Alright, I have no objections. Luo Tian nodded. I have no objections either. It didn't matter who went first or second. Young Elephant Lord nodded in agreement. The 4 formations each occupied a position and calmly waited. Buzz. Suddenly, a spatial fluctuation appeared on the plaza, and a horned humanoid evil spirit appeared. Roar. The humanoid evil spirit faced the sky and roared. A frightening savage aura radiated in every direction. Even Marquis Swordstar, Young Elephant Lord, and Luo Tian felt an enormous pressure. If Liu Wujian were here, he would have immediately recognized that this was the top-level evil spirit that had killed him. At this moment, it had unexpectedly appeared in front of Life and Death Palace. Everyone, don't hold back. Kill it together. Luo Tian roared and took the initiative to attack. The others didn't dally either, taking out their own trump cards. Including Xu Jing, there were a total of 11 people on True Spirit Continent. Each of them was a peak genius, and when they joined hands, their might was boundless. Even a peak evil spirit couldn't resist them. In a few blinks of an eye, the humanoid evil spirit was blasted into pieces, and a life and death token floated out. Soon, the second peak evil spirit arrived. According to the agreement, this time, it was the turn of the overseas team with the second largest number of top-grade evil spirits. Although the number of people on True Spirit Continent couldn't compare to True Spirit Continent, they easily dealt with a peak evil spirit and obtained a life and death token. Next was Blood Sky Continent, and then Sword Sky Continent. After 1 round, each formation obtained a life and death token, which could allow 4 people to enter Life and Death Palace. The other 3 formations only lacked 1 token, while True Spirit Continent lacked 2. Too easy. Yu Lingshuang sighed. She had encountered a peak evil spirit before and immediately fled in fright. But now, a peak evil spirit was easily killed without any effort. It could be said that the 4 formations on the scene were definitely the 4 peak youths of Elysium. A 5th formation couldn't be found. The second round ended, and the 4 formations each obtained a life and death token. We're still lacking 1. Luo Tian said inwardly. Why isn't Yi Chen here yet? Once Life and Death Palace opens, peak evil spirits won't appear. Could he have been killed? Or perhaps he died at the hands of a peak evil spirit. Ji Hairuo had seen Yi Chen in Life and Death Secret Realm, so she knew that Yi Chen was very powerful. Among the young experts present, there weren't more than 10 who were stronger than him. Apart from Ji Hairuo, a few others also had an impression of Yi Chen, such as Du Guju, Chu Zhongtian, Xu Jing, and Lan Sanmai. It's here. Luo Tian's eyes brightened as another peak evil spirit appeared in his sight. Kill. The people of True Spirit Continent didn't show any mercy. However, Xu Jing, Du Guju, and Chu Zhongtian didn't make a move. They didn't want to deal with the evil spirit so quickly, because once it was killed, Life and Death Palace would open in a short while, and those who didn't make it would lose the opportunity to enter. Life and Death Palace had its own unique rules. Peng. After all, True Spirit Continent had the advantage in numbers. If a few people didn't make a move, the evil spirit wouldn't be able to resist. After half the time it took to brew a cup of tea, a life and death token appeared. Luo Tian thoughtfully sized up those who didn't make a move and sighed inwardly. Creak. Life and Death Palace's gate slowly opened, and no more peak evil spirits appeared on the plaza. Let's go in. The people of Blood Sky Continent entered first, and 2 tokens were sucked in. Then, the people of Sky Sword Continent and Ocean Continent followed. Let's go in as well. Luo Tian led the way. Too late. Dugu Ju was somewhat disappointed. In fact, 3 tokens could allow 12 people to enter, while True Spirit Continent only had 11. Since Yi Chen had arrived, there was still a chance. The last to enter was Xu Jing. Before entering, she glanced back once before stepping in. The last token disappeared without a trace. The time of a life and death token was very short. After this time, the token would be taken away by Life and Death Palace. Damn, we're late. In the distance, 2 figures flew over. The one speaking was Qin Tianxiong. Not necessarily. Yi Chen took out a life and death token from his storage ring. What? You have a life and death token? Qin Tianxiong's mouth was wide open as if he had thought of a possibility. Chapter 854. Under Qin Tianxiong's astonished gaze, Yi Chen threw the life and death tag toward the gate of the Life and Death Palace. The gate was already open, but a layer of black and white interweaving energy barrier appeared. As soon as the tag touched the barrier, a gap immediately appeared. Come, let's go in. Yi Chen's body flickered into the Life and Death Palace. This Yi Chen will probably shock the whole world. Although Qin Tianxiong didn't ask where Yi Chen got the tag, there were only 2 ways to obtain it. One was to join hands with others and kill a top-rank evil spirit, and the other was to kill a top-rank evil spirit alone. The former possibility was relatively low, because it was hard to run into them in Life and Death Secret Realm. As soon as he entered the Life and Death Palace, dozens of gazes landed on Yi Chen's body. The owners of these gazes were all young experts with sharp gazes. Even Yi Chen couldn't ignore them. As for Qin Tianxiong, his body shivered as he almost made a fool out of himself. Yi Chen, you're finally here. Yi Chen, long time no see. Brother Yi. Yi Chen was like a superstar, the object of everyone's attention. As one of the True Spirit 7, Qin Tianxiong could be said to have a bit of fame. However, at this moment, he had become a side character that no one paid attention to. Following behind Yi Chen, almost no one paid any attention to him. Who is this guy? He seems to be getting a lot of attention. Strange. How can a newcomer be so popular? People from Blood Sky Continent and Sky Sword Continent were confused. Marquis Giant Sword and Marquis Short Sword's expressions froze upon seeing Yi Chen's appearance. A cold light flickered in Marquis Giant Sword and Short Sword's faces were full of fear. They had witnessed Yi Chen's strength with their own eyes, so they didn't find it strange that Yi Chen was getting so much attention. After all, with Yi Chen's battle strength, it was impossible for him to not have any fame. That's right, how did he get in here? It's impossible to enter the Hall of Life and Death without a Life and Death badge. Could it be that he has the strength to kill a top-grade evil spirit? Impossible. He must have joined forces with others to kill a top-grade evil spirit. Didn't you see that there was another person with him? There were probably quite a few people who joined forces with him. In the end, only the 2 of them were left. Almost no one believed that Yi Chen had the strength to kill a top-grade evil spirit by himself. Or rather, they didn't want to believe it, and each and every one of them came up with a reasonable explanation. The first few voices didn't cause Yi Chen's expression to change. However, the soft voice at the end caused Yi Chen's heart to tremble. His gaze swept across the crowd excitedly before finally landing on a beautiful and quiet woman. Xu Jing. After so many years, the 2 of them finally met again. Xu Jing's gaze met Yi Chen's. Unlike before, there was no trace of dominance in her gaze. Instead, there was gentleness and joy. With a smile on his face, Yi Chen walked over to Xu Jing. Senior sister Xu Jing. Yi Chen was still used to calling Xu Jing senior sister. This meant that he hadn't changed. Without waiting for her to speak, he suddenly hugged Xu Jing. The latter's soft body seemed very small and delicate in his embrace. Xu Jing blinked her eyes, and a trace of redness appeared on her face. Everyone in the Life and Death Palace was stupefied. After all this time, this incomparably valiant and beautiful woman turned out to be Yi Chen's woman. This made many people who harbored hopes disappointed. Young Elephant Lord coldly snorted and clenched his fists. Although it was his first time seeing Xu Jing, he had already decided that Xu Jing was his woman. Seeing Yi Chen hugging Xu Jing made his heart twitch. Yang Fengfeng, is this Yi Chen's real girlfriend? How come I heard that his previous girlfriend was a demonic human? Ji Hairuo asked Yang Fengfeng. Yang Fengfeng said uncertainly, they should both be his girlfriends. She had never seen Xu Jing before. Xu Jing had been brought to the Dragon God Celestial Palace by Dragon King a long time ago. Only the people of South Rudra region knew a little about her. Oh, so that's how it is. Yi Chen is quite fortunate. You wouldn't be thinking about junior brother Yi, would you? You mustn't let senior brother Feng Piaoling down. What nonsense are you talking about? Tightly hugging Xu Jing, Yi Chen discovered that his longing for Xu Jing was real. The two had known each other long before Murong Qingcheng. Apart from Murong Qingcheng, Xu Jing was the one who understood him the most. Exhaling a breath, Xu Jing said softly, "Junior brother Yi, I thought you would forget me." How could that be? As time passed, the two's longing for each other became even more intense. Before, the two were quite reserved and didn't do anything out of line. But now, everything was natural. Yi Chen let go of Xu Jing and carefully sized her up. After so many years, Xu Jing hadn't changed much. However, between her brows, there was a unique heroic spirit of a woman. What puzzled Yi Chen was that the strength in Xu Jing's body was a bit special. It didn't seem like the strength of a human's body, but rather that of a demonic beast. But there was also a huge difference between it and ordinary demonic beasts. As the two approached each other, the dragon power in Yi Chen's body started to stir. Xu Jing seemed to have noticed something in Yi Chen. "Junior brother Yi, I'm actually not a human. I should have guessed a little." Yi Chen had heard Xu Jing talk about her life before. She said that her first memory was from the age of 10. Before that, it was a blank. After that, Dragon King told Yi Chen some things about Xu Jing, so Yi Chen vaguely knew that Xu Jing's background was very special. Now that he saw the changes in Xu Jing, he could more or less guess some things. "I'm from the dragon race." Xu Jing told her secret to Yi Chen. "Dragon race?" Yi Chen's heart jumped. Then, "The strength in your body is dragon power?" No wonder he could feel the dragon power in his body becoming restless. The dragon power was also known as the sub-dragon power, while the dragon power was the pure power of a giant dragon. It was different from the sub-dragon power in that it was of a higher level and more powerful. "Yes, I'm a golden dragon of the dragon race, and the strength I cultivate is golden dragon power. Due to some special reasons, I was turned into a human when I was born, and then I fell into a deep sleep. 10 years later, I was found by my adoptive parents and woke up. After that, I grew up like other humans." Xu Jing said slowly. "It doesn't matter if you're a human or a golden dragon. As long as you're still senior sister Xu Jing, it's fine." Yi Chen didn't feel the slightest bit of rejection in his heart. Rumble. They were currently in a huge secret chamber. It was squarish, more than 1,000 meters in length, width, and height. A stone tablet suddenly appeared in front of the chamber. 36 names were inscribed on it. Quite a few of the people present had their names on it, but the order of their names was different. "This is the name list of the previous life and death substitute list." Someone blurted out. On the stele, the first and second names belonged to none of the people present. Marquis Swordstar was third, Luo Tianju was fourth, Young Elephant Lord was fifth, Marquis Swordrealm was sixth, Young Undying Demon Lord was seventh, and Young Snake Lord was ninth. Behind them were Feng Piaoling, Ji Hai Ruo, Qin Tianxiong, Marquis Sword Tyrant, young Tiger Lord, and the others. Rumble. Another stone tablet fell down, but it was blank on top. Everyone knew about the life and death secret realm, and they knew that this was a stele with a strange power. As long as one's name was carved on it, it would carry their own life aura. The stele would then rank the participants according to the strength of their life aura. Of course, the first ranking didn't count, and could only be used as a reference. The first one to leave his name was a young expert from the ocean. However, as the second and third people went up to leave their names, the first one became the last one, as his life chi was the weakest. As far as Yi Chen knew, this stone stele ranked people according to their cultivation base and life level. For example, if two people were both humans, then the one with the higher cultivation base would naturally have a higher life chi. Similarly, if one was a demonic beast and the other was a human, then under similar cultivation conditions, the demonic beast would usually have a higher life chi. Soon, more than a dozen people had already left their names. Let me try. Yi Chen walked up and used his finger power to carve his name on the stele. Swish. As soon as the two words Yi Chen appeared, he immediately rushed to the first place. Hey! Such a high life aura. Among the dozens of people before him, some of them are demonic beasts at the second layer of life and death chamber, but their life aura can't even compare to his. Many people revealed a surprised expression. Ling Hui also left his name, but he wasn't even in the top 3. After all, he wasn't a demonic beast, and his cultivation base didn't have an advantage. Next, apart from young Undying Demon Lord, Marquis Starsword, and Chu Zhongtian, almost all the young experts left their names. Unfortunately, the first place was still Yi Chen, which puzzled many people. It should be known that Luo Tianju and Tai Kuangzuan were both experts at the third layer of life and death chamber. They were all humans, so there was no reason for their life aura to be lower than Yi Chen's. This Yi Chen, I'm afraid he's not so simple. Luo Tianju said inwardly, damn it. His life aura is actually higher than mine. Wang Taiyi was annoyed. Previously, killing Yi Chen was as easy as lifting a finger. But now, the latter's life aura was even higher than his. This was unacceptable to him. He must have cultivated some life-saving method, making his life aura higher than ordinary people's. But, life-saving doesn't count as battle power. Wang Taiyi didn't forget that Yi Chen still had a huge amount of Jinyuan crystals on him, which belonged to Blackwater Alliance. Marquis Starsword has gone up. With his cultivation base, he should be the first. Under everyone's attentive gazes, Marquis Starsword left his name. Swish. Ranked second. Marquis Starsword couldn't surpass Yi Chen. Interesting. Marquis Starsword didn't get angry, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Yang Fengfeng was third, and Divine Shark Princess Shou Ruoqing was fifth. Young experts left their names one after another, but none of them could surpass Yi Chen. Haha, let me try. Dugu Ju's Dantai Mingyue's ranking wasn't anything special, and Chu Zhongtian, who had the evil spirit body, hadn't tried yet. This time, Yi Chen's ranking was almost pulled down. Chu Zhongtian's life aura was too powerful, and he almost rushed to the first place several times. However, Yi Chen's life aura was extremely tenacious, and he managed to maintain his position. Young Snake Lord's injuries had already recovered. He sneered, thinking that he would have no problem taking the first place. After all, his cultivation base wasn't inferior to anyone. He had long since reached the peak of the third layer of life and death chamber, and he had half Hydra bloodline. Chapter 855. Young Master Snake quickly carved his name in front of the life and death stele. Whoosh. Second. Young Snake Lord's vitality didn't surpass Yi Chen's. For a time, an uproar broke out. What's going on? If the others didn't surpass him, there would still be a reason. However, young Snake Lord's cultivation base has already reached the peak of the third layer of life and death chamber, and he also has half of the Hydra bloodline. Logically speaking, he should have surpassed him. Is Yi Chen not human? It must be a human. No one here is blind. Everyone was puzzled by this result. Impossible. Young Snake Lord's first reaction was that there was something wrong with the life and death stele. Hehe, young Snake Lord, It seems like you've neglected your cultivation for so many years. Young Undying Demon Lord grinned and walked over to the stele to leave his name first. Finally, someone surpassed Yi Chen. He was the head of the Blood Sky Continent's 4 demons, the young Undying Demon Lord. As expected, it is because of the Undying Body, Yi Chen thought. Undying Body was the basic ability of Life and Death Kings. With an undying body, one's life chi would naturally be very powerful. Yi Chen had an undying body, and so did young Undying Demon Lord. At this moment, the ranking would be based on cultivation base. Seeing that the young Undying Demon Lord had surpassed Yi Chen, everyone finally confirmed that there was no problem with the life and death stele. Yi Chen's life aura was indeed very strong, above most people. In the end, only young Elephant Lord and Shu Jing didn't take the test. Last time, young Elephant Lord's life aura was below young Undying Demon Lord's. This time, it was hard to say who was stronger. Among the crowd, young Undying Demon Lord was only apprehensive of 3 people: Marquis Swordstar, Luo Tianju, and young Elephant Lord. Young Elephant Lord was especially apprehensive of young Undying Demon Lord. Although the former 2 were very strong, they would still be injured if hit. Only young Elephant Lord's strength and defense were frighteningly strong, which specifically restrained him. Seeing young Elephant Lord take the test, young Undying Demon Lord's eyes squinted. If young Elephant Lord's vitality was lower than his, then he had more than 50% chance of surpassing young Elephant Lord. He might even have a chance of fighting for the first place on the life and death substitute list. Young Elephant Lord was very relaxed. He knew very well how strong his life aura was. Leave your name. Whoosh. First place. Young Elephant Lord had surpassed Yi Chen and young Undying Demon Lord, occupying the top position. Seems like young Elephant Lord has a chance to fight for the first place in the life and death substitute list. Last time, young Undying Demon Lord's vitality was first. Now that young Elephant Lord has surpassed him, won't the gap be getting bigger and bigger? You can't say that. The young Undying Demon Lord might have even more powerful methods. After all, so many years have passed. It's hard to say how much they have improved. That makes sense. Life aura is only for reference. Everyone discussed animatedly. Senior Sister Shu Jing, it's your turn. Yi Chen released Shu Jing's hand. En. Shu Jing nodded and stepped forward. Others might not know, but Yi Chen clearly knew that Shu Jing's life aura was definitely first. Golden Dragon was a demonic beast in Elysium's legends, a true dragon. In Elysium, not to mention dragons, even subdragons were extremely rare. It could be said that Golden Dragon was an existence that surpassed the 100 ancient beasts, and belonged to the realm of legends. As Yi Chen expected, Shu Jing's name was at the top, faintly suffused with a golden radiance, looking incomparably sacred. This scene naturally left many people dumbstruck. Each and every one of them looked at Shu Jing suspiciously, as if trying to guess her identity. I've already returned to my ancestry, but I'm actually being suppressed. Young Elephant Lord could sense that Shu Jing was not a human, nor was she a demonic beast. That's fine. Ordinary women are not worthy of me. Only such women are worth fighting for. As for that kid, I'll find an opportunity to beat him to death. Young Elephant Lord glanced at Yi Chen with killing intent. Buzz. In front of the stele, a spatial ripple suddenly appeared, and a vague human figure appeared. The figure was expressionless as he said coldly, "This ranking will still be based on points. Everyone will have to fight against everyone once. If you win, you will get 1 point. If you lose, you won't get any points. The winner will get 3 life and death stones, second and third place will get 2 life and death stones, and 4th to 10th place will get 1 life and death stone. The first will get 3 life and death stones, and the second and third will get 2 as well." A smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. He still needed 2 life and death stones to break through to the 3rd layer of life and death chamber. Once he did so, he would have the confidence to contend against ordinary life and death kings. Points battle, begin. The vague human figure disappeared. Immediately after, 36 black holes appeared in the chamber's surroundings. Each of them emitted an incomparable suction force, sucking in 1 person each. Yi Chen and Xu Jing were also sucked in. When he reappeared, Yi Chen was in a small chamber. In front of the chamber was a huge crystal. Through the crystal, he could see the previous large chamber. At this moment, two names shone on the stele. They were Lan Sanmai of Blood Sky Continent and Marquis Giant Sword of True Spirit Continent. Crack! Two holes appeared in the chamber's wall, and Lan Sanmai and Marquis Giant Sword leaped out. It turned out that from the large chamber, the rock-like walls were actually a disguise. From the small chamber, the walls were clearly made of a special crystal. One could see outside, but not inside, just like the special glass of Yi Chen's world. The large chamber was 1,000 meters wide. Lan Sanmai and Marquis Giant Sword stood several hundred meters apart, facing each other. Die. Marquis Giant Sword's weapon was a huge sword that was even bigger than him. He rapidly approached Lan Sanmai and slashed at Lan Sanmai with a rainbow-like sword chi. Ding! Lan Sanmai's blade arts were extremely tyrannical. With a single blade strike, he sent Marquis Giant Sword's huge sword flying. Then, with a swipe of his blade, Marquis Giant Sword's head flew into the air, blood splattering everywhere. Formidable. Worthy of being Demonis Blade Lan Sanmai. Demonic Blade Sect's demonic blade arts are simply a trump card in close combat. Lan Sanmai dealt with Marquis Giant Sword in 2 blade strikes, causing many to cry out in alarm. Damn it! In the small chamber, Marquis Giant Sword's body condensed, without the slightest injury. In the Life and Death Palace, there was no need to worry about death. After the two's battle ended, 2 more names shone on the stele, Dugu Ju and Young Eagle Lord. I wonder what level Dugu Ju's strength has reached. In the small chamber, Yi Chen attentively watched Dugu Ju. The latter's hair was snow white, and his brows were brimming with a sharp killing intent. It was as if he was born for slaughter. Eagle piercing the sky. Young Eagle Lord didn't put Dugu Ju in his eyes at all. He was one of the top geniuses in the Blood Sky Continent, and he and Lan Sanmai were known as the twin stars of demonic beasts. His talent and comprehension were even higher than Young Elephant Lord and Young Undying Demon Lord. If not for the fact that he was only in his 30s, which was 10 years younger than Young Elephant Lord, he might even be the leader of the younger generation in the Blood Sky Continent. The demonic power eagle, which contained its talent, pounced at Dugu Ju with lightning speed, locking onto Dugu Ju's life force. Dugu Ju was expressionless. Clang. The blade was unsheathed. A blade slashed out. Swish. The demonic power eagle was split into 2, and the pale white blade light went straight for Young Eagle Lord's head. Young Eagle Lord's scalp went numb. What kind of blade art was this? It actually made him feel despair from the depths of his soul. Screech. Young Eagle Lord turned into a huge eagle demon and soared into the sky, dodging the blade light. You think you can dodge it? Young Eagle Lord's movement was fast, but Dugu Ju's was even faster. He also leapt into the sky and launched a second blade attack. Poochie. One of Young Eagle Lord's wings was chopped off by the blade light, and blood splattered everywhere. Third blade attack. A huge hole appeared on Young Eagle Lord's chest, and the blade light pierced through his body. What a powerful blade art! Is this the strength of a genius blade artist of True Spirit Continent? Lan Sanmai's brows creased. She was also a blade artist, but there were 2 people who made her apprehensive. One was Thunder Spirit King, and the other was Dugu Ju. If Thunder Spirit King's blade art could be said to be unparalleled, then Dugu Ju's blade art could only give people despair. Young Eagle Lord didn't make much progress. Although his cultivation base has increased a lot, his battle technique has only improved a bit. He can't keep up with the times. Young Elephant Lord shook his head. Young Eagle Lord wasn't lacking in comprehension, but temperament. The false reputation of the demon twin stars had made him arrogant and complacent, causing him to stagnate. On the other hand, Lan Sanmai was much more hardworking than him. The third battle was between Marquis Swordstar and Ji Hairuo. Make your move. Marquis Swordstar faintly smiled at Ji Hairuo. I'm going to face him so soon. Ji Hairuo felt bitter. With her strength, she was absolutely not Marquis Swordstar's opponent. Of course, she couldn't admit defeat either. Even if she lost, she had to fight. Bang! With both hands in a circle, a huge Yuan cauldron appeared in front of Ji Hairuo. The cauldron shot out with a majestic momentum. This was Cauldron King Sect's unique attack method. Rip! Marquis Sword Star stood motionlessly and waved the sword in his hand. A speck of starlight pierced through the cauldron and pierced Ji Hairuo's throat. Ji Hairuo was defeated. The gap is too big. Marquis Sword Star is worthy of being called Marquis Sword Star. The #1 sword artist of Elysium's younger generation is none other than him. Marquis Sword Star's sword arts caused many people to gasp in amazement. His sword arts are indeed powerful, but whether he's the #1 sword artist or not, we'll have to fight to know. Chu Zhongtian wasn't convinced by anyone. If he had to pick one person, it would be Yi Chen. The battle for points progressed quickly because everyone had taken out their trump cards. They wanted to end the battle as soon as possible without letting the others notice anything. After all, when two people's strength was about the same, the trump card was very important, and so was the individual's fighting skill. It was impossible to be fair, so it could only depend on the individual's choice. Xu Jing's life aura was the highest, and she was ranked first. It was unknown if it was a coincidence, but her opponent was the one with the lowest life aura. The result could be easily imagined. The steely flickered once again, and Yi Chen and Marquis Short Sword's names shone. Seeing that his opponent was Yi Chen, Marquis Short Sword cursed inwardly. He would rather fight with Yi Chen later than be abused so early. As long as I can withstand one sword strike, it'll be fine. Marquis Short Sword set a goal for himself. Battle begin. Rip. The battle was over. A sword hole appeared on Marquis Short Sword's forehead. Chapter 856. This battle ended too quickly, so quickly that many people were not prepared for it. It was as if you wanted to watch an incomparably exciting battle, but just as you came back to your senses, the battle was already over, and you could not even savor the aftertaste. What's going on? Marquis Short Sword is too careless. Can't you at least endure a few more moves? Although Yi Chen's attack was fast, some people still believed that Marquis Short Sword had been too careless. Otherwise, with Marquis Short Sword's status as one of the 10 swords of the Heavenly Sword Continent, it was impossible for him to be unable to even receive a single attack. The Short Sword Marquis was on the verge of tears. How could he have been careless? He really couldn't even block a single sword strike from Yi Chen. Not only was it fast, but it also had no trajectory. He couldn't even muster the strength to block it. Damn it, it's finally over. Although it's a little ugly, the others might not be any better. I'm waiting to see them make a fool of themselves. Humans were like this. If they couldn't do it themselves, they would hope to see others unable to do it. This was the logic of throwing caution to the wind. What a fast sword. Others couldn't see through it, but that didn't mean that Marquis Sword Star couldn't. Among everyone present, only he knew how terrifying Yi Chen's sword was. Interesting, I finally found a swordsman that I can fight seriously. Marquis Sword Star revealed a smile. Apart from Marquis Sword Star and Marquis Sword Realm, Sky Sword Continent also had a stunning genius sword artist, Marquis Sword Snow. Marquis Sword Snow looked to be in his early 20s, similar to Yi Chen's Duguju. His real age was estimated to be no more than 30. His appearance was extremely delicate, like a boy next door. However, as soon as he appeared, the other 5 people from Sky Sword Continent, including Marquis Sword Star, all turned serious. As for how powerful Marquis Sword Snow was, none of them knew. Moreover, the existence of the life and death secret realm had greatly increased his cultivation base, like adding wings to a tiger. Marquis Sword Snow's opponent was Lu Xiaoyu, who also used a sword. Standing 100 meters away from Marquis Sword Snow, Lu Xiaoyu didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. Although Marquis Sword Snow's body wasn't emitting any sword aura, as a sword artist, he could faintly sense that Marquis Sword Snow's strength was unfathomable and extremely frightening. The battlefield was silent. Neither of them made the first move. After about a quarter of a cup of tea's time, many people began to become impatient. Clang! Lu Xiaoyu drew his sword. The moment his sword was unsheathed, the void was filled with sharp air currents. These air currents were incomparably sharp and were everywhere. They were condensed from sword chi. Marquis Sword Snow revealed a bright smile. Snowflakes danced in the air. So beautiful. Jihai Ruo could not help but think. The snowflakes grew larger and larger, and a breathtaking wisp of blood shot out and dyed a large expanse of snowflakes red. It was like a colorful ink painting. Lu Xiaoyu was defeated. From start to finish, Lu Xiaoyu didn't even see how Marquis Sword Snow attacked. Snow profound and water profound, both at 80% completion. Yi Chen sucked in a deep breath. Marquis Sword Snow's strength had truly exceeded his expectations. The snow profound actually belonged to the water profound, but there were some natural variations. The combination of the two profounds allowed Marquis Sword Snow's sword arts to be soft and gentle. Combining different profounds would result in different meanings. For example, the combination of the wind profound and fire profound, or the combination of the metal profound and earth profound would result in a lot of variations. However, the combination of the snow profound and water profound would be more focused. Looks like there's going to be another swordsman who I have to take seriously. Marquis Sword Star's brows relaxed as he faintly smiled. Haha, it's my turn. Chu Zhongtian leaped out of the small chamber. I'll defeat you in 3 moves. Chu Zhongtian sized up Wang Taiyi. In your dreams. Wang Taiyi's face twitched. First move. Without using any powerful moves, Chu Zhongtian was suppressing his opponent with brute force. The dark red rapier in his hand blossomed with a radiance comparable to the sun. Bang! Wang Taiyi was forced back 4 steps, and the clothes on his chest were scorched black. Second move. Chu Zhongtian was like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins, charging forward madly. Die! Extending his palm, Wang Taiyi operated his Jin Yuan to the limit. His 5 fingers released 5 water dragon-like energies, which intertwined and coiled toward Chu Zhongtian. Break! 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 Water vapor pervaded the air, and a red light flickered. Wang Taiyi's attack was utterly defeated. Chu Zhongtian was like a primordial beast, crushing him like a hot knife through butter. Third move. Raising the rapier, Chu Zhongtian chopped down. Puff! Spurting out a huge mouthful of blood, Wang Taiyi's chest caved in, and his 5 viscera and 6 bowels were completely shattered. This guy is too violent. The people of True Spirit Continent shook their heads, feeling sorry for Wang Taiyi. Dan Tai Mingyue's opponent was Yu Lingshuang. Both of their names had the word moon in them. Their attacks were like moonlight flowing water, faintly discernible and incorporeal. Dan Tai Mingyu was, after all, a monstrous genius of True Spirit Continent. Yu Lingshuang used all her means, but still couldn't do anything to her opponent. In the end, she was defeated. She lost wholeheartedly. Young Elephant Lord's appearance immediately ignited the atmosphere. His opponent was none other than Qin Tianxiong, who came together with Yi Chen. The result was without any suspense. Young Elephant Lord punched, seeming to explode the space. Qin Tianxiong almost turned into a bloody mist. Then came young Undying Demon Lord and Luo Tianju. Each and every one of them swept through their opponents, not even using half of their strength. After all, it was already commendable for them to use half of their strength. The first round ended very quickly, taking no more than an hour. Although it was only 1 round, it wasn't hard to see who was stronger and who was more unfathomable. Regardless of whether the others were willing or not, they were destined to play supporting roles. Second round. Third round. After 6 rounds, many people had a rough idea. Blood Sky Continent, Young Elephant Lord, Young Undying Demon Lord, and Lan Sanmai were very strong. Sky Sword Continent, Marquis Sword Star, Marquis Sword Snow, and Marquis Sword Realm were also very strong. True Spirit Continent was quite abnormal. Almost half of them were very strong, such as Luo Tianju, Yi Chen, Xu Jing, Du Guju, Chu Zhongtian, Dan Tai Mingyu, and Yang Fengfeng. Among the overseas teams, Godly Shark Princess Shou Ruoqing and Jiang Tian were rather outstanding. 7th round, 5th battle, Yi Chen against Wang Taiyi. Long time no see. Yi Chen faintly smiled at Wang Taiyi. Damn it. Wang Taiyi's face was ashen. In the previous 6 rounds, he could already tell that he wasn't Yi Chen's opponent. In such a short time, Yi Chen had actually grown to such a level. This made him extremely unwilling and sullen. After the battle ended, Yi Chen turned around and entered the small chamber. A trace of blood appeared on Wang Taiyi's forehead. Seems like I've truly underestimated him. Yu Lingshuang hadn't expected this year's life and death secret realm. Peerless geniuses were popping up one after another. She had even predicted that it would be difficult for Yi Chen to enter the life and death realm substitute list. But now, Yi Chen had already become one of the hot contenders for the top 5. It could only be said that her thinking back then was too outdated. This year's life and death secret realm was different from the previous ones. In the 8th round, Sword Realm Marquis lost to Jiang Tian, causing a small upset. Then, Yang Fengfeng lost to Young Undying Demon Lord. Young Undying Demon Lord's undying body was too powerful. The 9th round of the points battle. Chu Zhongtian against Young Undying Demon Lord. Raw. Chu Zhongtian didn't dare to be careless and raised his strength to the limit. Young Undying Demon Lord was ranked 5th in the previous life and death realm substitute list. He was one of the hot contenders for the top 3 this time. In many people's opinion, apart from Marquis Swordstar, Luo Tianju, and Young Elephant Lord, few could contend against him. Of course, Marquis Sword Snow was also included. Marquis Sword Snow's sword arts were too magnificent. Up until now, almost nobody had been able to take a single strike from him. Yi Chen's sword arts were indeed sharp, and he could kill his opponent with a single strike. However, many people still believed that he was inferior to Marquis Sword Snow. Thus, he was naturally inferior to Young Undying Demon Lord. Break. Fire and Earth Astral Yuan burst forth as Chu Zhongtian's entire body leaped up and slashed at Young Undying Demon Lord. Clang. Young Undying Demon Lord sneered and punched at the dark red bar mace. The enormous power blasted Chu Zhongtian away. Chaotic World Demonic Fist. Young Undying Demon Lord charged over, his fists fierce and unstoppable. Peng 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 peng. The two exchanged offense with offense, not putting up any defense. As far as they were concerned, defense was superfluous. The only thing they could do was to vent their attacks on the opponent's body. Too abnormal. Is he still human? Worthy of being Young Undying Demon Lord, the one who could exchange 100 moves with Young Elephant Lord in the last competition. This Chu Zhongtian is also very powerful. He can actually exchange so many moves with Young Elephant Lord. The spectators had rarely seen such an intense battle. They all opened their eyes wide, afraid of missing out on any exciting details. This is the undying body. Chu Zhongtian couldn't hold on any longer. He was a human with a body of flesh and blood. Even if he was an astral body, there was still a limit. On the other hand, Young Undying Demon Lord was completely unkillable. No matter how powerful the attacks were, they couldn't do anything to him. Gradually, blood trickled down the corner of Chu Zhongtian's mouth. More and more blood trickles appeared, wriggling like snakes. Being able to resist so many of my moves, you should be proud of yourself. Young Undying Demon Lord laughed heartily. His fists became fiercer and more tyrannical. Swinging away Chu Zhongtian's right arm, Young Undying Demon Lord's fist landed on his chest. Catcher. Several of Chu Zhongtian's ribs were broken, and one of them pierced through his heart. Young Undying Demon Lord's victory. This guy. Although Young Undying Demon Lord had won, his whole body was covered in cold sweat. His opponent's cultivation base was at the 2nd layer, while he was at the peak of the 3rd layer. Even so, this battle was still very difficult for him to win. He had never seen anyone with such endurance apart from Young Elephant Lord. The 10th round of the battle was about to begin. Young Undying Demon Lord against Yi Chen. Up until now, Young Undying Demon Lord had fought against the most young experts of True Spirit Continent. Apart from those whose strength wasn't that outstanding, he had already defeated 2 popular figures, Yang Fengfeng and Chu Zhongtian. And now, it was Yi Chen's turn. He's really in the limelight. Young Elephant Lord smiled. He didn't believe that Yi Chen had the qualifications to contend against Young Undying Demon Lord. I hope his spirit won't be broken by young undying demon lord. Otherwise, it'll be boring. Marquis Sword Star shook his head. He also didn't believe that Yi Chen could defeat young undying demon lord. In truth, this had nothing to do with strength. Young undying demon lord had an undying body. Even if one's strength was a bit higher than his, one still wouldn't be able to defeat him. In the previous life and death substitute list, young undying demon lord was ranked 5th. The others behind him were not weaker than him, but they all lost to him. There were many people who didn't think highly of Yi Chen. Apart from a few people of True Spirit Continent, not many were optimistic about him. An existence that killed a peak-level evil spirit alone. How could he not defeat young undying demon lord? Just wait for the shock. Qin Tianxiong sneered. Chapter 857. The chamber was square, 1,000 meters in length, width, and height. In the center of the chamber, Yi Chen and young undying demon lord were facing each other. Young undying demon lord was very tall, more than 190 meters in height. He stood there like a spear, his black hair fluttering in the wind like a black flag. You're very unfortunate. The corner of young undying demon lord's mouth curled up. How so? Yi Chen asked. Meeting me is your misfortune. In young undying demon lord's heart, Lan Sanmai had already become his exclusive property. He would not allow Lan Sanmai to have any friendly male friends. Yi Chen had violated his taboo, which was tantamount to touching his reverse scale. This sentence can also be said the other way around. Yi Chen said indifferently, "It's useless to be stubborn now. In a while, you won't be able to do so even if you want to." Ha! After saying these words, young undying demon lord let out a stern shout. A tyrannical aura spread out like mist and ink, twisting the airflow inside the chamber into a whirlpool. Standing in the center of the airflow, young undying demon lord fiercely raised his Jin Yuan and thrust out a palm. The palm power turned into a sky-covering tsunami, blasting toward Yi Chen with a surging might. Chaotic demon palm. Hey! Young undying demon lord is using palm arts. Strange. Seems like young undying demon lord has other plans. Perhaps he thinks that Yi Chen is not enough for him to use his fist arts. In the past, young undying demon lord had never used palm arts when fighting others. But this time, he had made an exception. Young undying demon lord's demonic Jin Yuan was extremely robust, perhaps 2 times more robust than an ordinary peak 3rd layer life and death chamber expert. The surging palm energy contained both firmness and gentleness, completely surrounding Yi Chen. Shortly after, it loudly exploded, forming a catastrophic wave of qi energy that swept over, turning the surroundings turbid. If the young undying demon lord's palm energy was a vast ocean, then Yi Chen was a small boat on it. However, there was a peerless swordsman standing on this small boat, which made it as stable as Mount Tai, light and nimble. Releasing his soul power, Yi Chen sensed that the speed of the huge waves had slowed down. Yi Chen struck with his sword. In an instant, he struck out countless times. The hair-thin sword qi advanced against the current, following the vague trajectory of the huge waves and spreading out. Kai 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 kai. A shocking scene occurred. Countless sword qi followed the young undying demon lord's palm energy and went against the flow. As the culprit, the young undying demon lord was caught unprepared and his defenses were pierced by several sword qi, leaving bloodstains on his body. This is... Marquis Sword Star and Marquis Sword Snow's expressions changed. Yi Chen's sword trajectory was based on the palm energy's flaw. Young undying demon lord's palm energy was like a chaotic undercurrent, containing countless different kinds of power. The only flaw was the gap between the different powers. Although they could see it, they might not be able to do it, because it required astonishing insight and execution. Even the slightest bit of difference would result in failure at the last step. Powerful. However, relying too much on technique won't allow you to defeat the young undying demon lord. Marquis Sword Star restrained his astonished expression and faintly shook his head. You actually broke my chaotic ocean. Young undying demon lord was somewhat astonished. From the previous battles, He could tell that Yi Chen was a character with extremely profound sword arts. Therefore, he didn't use his fist arts, and instead prepared to use the boundless chaotic power of Chaosha Demon Palm to trap Yi Chen, making it difficult for him to display the might of his skills. However, he didn't expect that Yi Chen's sword arts had already reached such a level. Chaotic World Calamity. The young Undying Demon Lord rotated his arms, and the surging palm energy converged into one. This energy continuously rotated and collapsed, becoming more and more concentrated and condensed. It was impossible for Yi Chen to find a flaw. The powerful rotational energy caused the surrounding airflow to be sucked in, rapidly collapsing and condensing between the young Undying Demon Lord's palms. Explode. Using the rotational compression technique, the young Undying Demon Lord's palms contained a frightening power as he pushed it toward Yi Chen. Boom. Like an erupting mountain flood, the earth's crust cracked, and a doomsday calamity appeared. Boundless power erupted from the young Undying Demon Lord and rushed toward Yi Chen. Even through the transparent crystal, everyone could feel the powerful fluctuations. Yi Chen is going to lose. The might of young Undying Demon Lord's palm was too great. The burst of compressed energy had always been extremely frightening. Young Undying Demon Lord's chaotic world disaster was undoubtedly an extremely brilliant compression technique. Coupled with the water and darkness profounds, apart from a few people, no one would be able to block it. It was an all-conquering attack. Trying to suppress others with force. You've found the wrong opponent. Yi Chen took a step forward, and a destructive sword chi crazily swept out in all directions, sweeping away any incoming airflow. His right hand held the evil vanquishing sword and raised it high. He slashed down. Poochie. The space split open, and a black waning moon flashed in the void. The young Undying Demon Lord's powerful compressed palm energy was immediately diverted, as if there was an invisible reef blocking in front of it. No matter how fierce the palm energy was, it was pushed to the side, unable to do anything. Most importantly, this reef was moving. After diverting the palm energy, the black waning moon appeared out of nowhere in front of the young Undying Demon Lord and heavily slashed down. Rumble. The young Undying Demon Lord's protective Jin Yuan disintegrated, and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was sent flying, smashing into the wall of the secret chamber with a sky-shaking sound. In the first round, the young Undying Demon Lord had suffered a crushing defeat. Hua. Everybody was stupefied. Yi Chen's battle strength seemed to have only been revealed at this moment, shocking everyone. My Metal Profound has long since reached 90% completion, and my Water Profound has also reached 60% completion. As for Waning Moon, it evolved from Golden Hurricane. Metal begets water, and as long as the Metal Profound is not exhausted, the power will be endless. In terms of explosive power, it won't be inferior to Chaotic World Calamity. In terms of endurance, Chaotic World Calamity won't be able to catch up. Waning Moon could be said to have accompanied Yi Chen's progress. 90% completion of Metal Profound was perhaps the best in the younger generation. It should be known that the higher one comprehended Profound, the more difficult it would be. Many powerful life and death kings only had one or two Profounds at greater completion. As for Profound Perfection, perhaps only a peerless king like Shenhu could achieve it. Of course, titled monarchs could also achieve it. Achieving multiple Profounds to perfection was one of the basic requirements for becoming a titled monarch. Cough. Cough. Crawling up from the ground, young Undying Demon Lord coughed out a huge amount of blood, his complexion pale. Recover for me. Black chi surged out of young Undying Demon Lord's body and fused into his body. In the next moment, young Undying Demon Lord's injuries were completely healed, but his complexion was incomparably gloomy. Very good. I was thinking that dealing with you so easily would be too boring. But now, it seems like I don't need to worry so much. Young Undying Demon Lord wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and coldly said word by word. You were the main attacker just now. Now, it's my turn. Yi Chen didn't put young Undying Demon Lord's words in his heart. Using sword steps, Yi Chen's speed erupted to the limit. From afar, he looked like a beam of sword light, arriving before young Undying Demon Lord in the blink of an eye and thrusting. Sword step was Yi Chen's supreme footwork that combined the three great sword daos into one. Its explosive speed over a short distance was unparalleled. The young undying demon lord didn't even have the time to react before his throat was pierced. "You can't kill me." Being stabbed in the throat, young undying demon lord turned a blind eye. With a fanatical look in his eyes, he straightened his left palm and clenched his right hand into a fist. A palm and a fist bombarded at close range at Yi Chen's chest. In the face of young undying demon lord's self-destructive fighting style, many people with similar or higher strength would be beaten to death by him. The young experts of True Spirit Continent all held their breaths. Young undying demon lord's undying body was too frightening. They didn't know how Yi Chen would deal with such a situation. "Yi Chen, you should have a way, right?" Chu Zhongtian had lost to young undying demon lord before, so he clearly knew how frightening he was. Yi Chen also had an undying body, but it might not be comparable to young undying demon lord's. After all, young undying demon lord's undying body originated from the undying demon art, which gave him an obvious innate advantage. However, if they were to trade blows, Yi Chen still had a high chance of killing young undying demon lord. Of course, this was under the condition that he didn't use bewitching mirror shattering. As soon as bewitching mirror shattering was used, young undying demon lord didn't even have the leeway to struggle. It should be known that even peak-level evil spirits couldn't withstand his bewitching mirror shattering. However, Yi Chen didn't plan to use it. After leaving life and death secret realm, he would have a lot of troubles ahead of him. If he revealed his true ace now, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. After all, if nothing unexpected happened, his future opponents would be life and death kings. Thus, he had to set his sights high. Facing young undying demon lord's fist and palm, Yi Chen neither retreated nor dodged. Instead, he suddenly released his sword domain. A huge sword pressure instantly acted on young undying demon lord's body, rendering him unable to move. The distance between the two was too close. The closer one was to the sword domain, the greater the sword pressure one had to endure. No matter how strong young undying demon lord was, he couldn't endure the pressure of sword domain. The evil shattering sword slashed across young undying demon lord's throat. Poochie. Young undying demon lord's head flew high into the sky, blood spraying everywhere. Yi Chen's victory. What? Yi Chen killed young undying demon lord just like that. In everyone's eyes, young undying demon lord's body turned sluggish. Like an idiot, his head was chopped off by Yi Chen's sword. Without reaching the peak of broken limb regrowth realm, having one's head chopped off was impossible to survive. After all, the head was not an arm or a leg, but the most important part of the human body. Releasing sword domain, Yi Chen sheathed his sword. Then, he turned around and entered the small chamber. The spectators were all stupefied. Yi Chen's frightening strength simply chilled their hearts. If even young undying demon lord was killed like an idiot, how could the others be any better? What kind of ability is this? Some people were also racking their brains. Too powerful. Chu Zhongtian sucked in a breath of cold air. He originally thought that he was already close to Yi Chen, and might even be on par with him. But now, it seemed like it was just his wishful thinking. Facing Yi Chen, he didn't even have 0.5% assurance. Even if his defense was powerful, he would still lose without a doubt. Chapter 858. I actually lost. How is this possible? Just a moment ago, young undying demon lord was still high and mighty, saying that it was Yi Chen's misfortune to run into him. But now, he was utterly defeated. Such a huge contrast almost drove young undying demon lord crazy. Lan Sanmei's mocking expression seemed to appear in his mind, making him even more furious and humiliated. In the small chamber, young undying demon lord clenched his fists. His nails pierced his palms, causing blood to drip down. Such a powerful sword pressure, what kind of ability is this? Marquis Swordstar was, after all, a peerless sword artist. The sword pressure released by Yi Chen at the critical moment was sensed by his keen senses, which made him very curious. However, since Yi Chen was very proficient in controlling this ability, releasing and withdrawing it in a flash. Even Marquis Swordstar couldn't see through it. He could only guess inwardly. Sword pressure? Seems like I can't get too close to him. Marquis Sword Snow slightly creased his brows. Sword pressure could only be produced when a sword artist attacked. Therefore, its range was limited, and its effect was also limited. On the other hand, the sword pressure released from within one's body was frightening. Junior Brother Yi is still Junior Brother Yi. Your progress is truly unimaginable. A smile appeared on Shu Jing's face. In this world, she was the first person to sense Yi Chen's astonishing potential. When the two were still disciples of Sky Cloud Sect, she had already predicted that Yi Chen would become a peerless sword artist. And now, Yi Chen was not far from this goal. There were more than a dozen popular characters on the scene. Often, two of them would bump into each other and erupt into world-shaking battles. Tai Kuangzuan, Dan Tai Mingyu. Two names lit up on the stele. It's Tai Kuangzuan. Up until now, he hasn't completely transformed. I wonder if this Dan Tai Mingyu can make him go all out. More than half of the popular characters haven't revealed all their trump cards yet. It's hard to say. Tai Kuangzuan had been very low-key up until now, but nobody dared to look down on him. Just his ability to completely transform without losing his mind was enough to make people apprehensive. Popular characters against popular characters, the battle was naturally very intense. Raw. After dozens of moves, Tai Kuangzuan knew that if he didn't go all out, he wouldn't be able to deal with Dan Tai Mingyu. Thus, he made a prompt decision and quickly entered his full devil state. His muscles wriggled, and bone spikes filled the air. In the blink of an eye, Tai Kuangzuan had turned into a demon that existed only for slaughter. His speed and strength had reached a whole new level. Kill. Tai Kuangzuan instantly appeared in front of Dan Tai Mingyu and waved his claw. It was too fast. It was impossible for Dan Tai Mingyu to dodge. If they were to fight head-on, Tai Kuangzuan, who had completely turned into a devil, would be able to overpower her. Buzz. At that moment, the space around Dan Tai Mingyu distorted along with her body, and she disappeared. Tai Kuangzuan's claw missed. Space Profound movement skill. Everyone cried out in alarm. The Space Profound was one of the most powerful Profound, and it was one of the most powerful ones. Merging this Profound into one's movement would allow one to teleport, and the distance of the teleportation would be related to one's comprehension of the Space Profound. Facing Dan Tai Mingyu, who had mastered the Space Profound movement, although Tai Kuangzuan's battling power was higher, he would still lose. I got the Space Profound foundation, and Dan Tai Mingyu should have gotten the Space Profound movement. I wonder what Jiang Tian and Xia Hozuan got. Inside the tomb of the Four Extreme Emperor, Yi Chen, Dan Tai Mingyu, Jiang Tian, and Xia Hozuan had all learned one movement of the void-shattering finger art and one key. Therefore, all four of them had gotten some benefits. After beating Tai Kuangzuan, Dan Tai Mingyu's popularity had reached another level. She had also become one of the top 5 candidates for the Life and Death Realm substitute list. Next was the battle between Lan Sanmai and Sword Realm Artist. La Sanmai's demonic blade arts were exceedingly powerful in both close combat and ranged combat. Sword Realm Artist's Wind Sword Formation and Tempest Sword Formation were scattered by her with a single slash, and the Thunder Rush Sword Formation was also knocked away, changing its trajectory. In the end, La Sanmai slashed open Sword Realm Artist's body and won. The climaxes came one after another. After 5 battles, the battle between Dugu Ju and Young Snake Lord began. Although Young Snake Lord had been defeated by Shu Jing outside the Life and Death Palace, no one thought that he was weak. It was mainly because Shu Jing's battling power was too powerful. Her strength might even exceed 1,000,000 Jin, which was comparable to Young Elephant Artist. Moreover, her life aura was ranked number 1, which meant that Shu Jing's life level was above everyone else's. Young Snake Lord was not weak, but Dugu Ju was not weak either. When 2 powerful warriors fought, there was bound to be a winner and a loser. Dugu Ju's blade art was filled with despair and evil chi. His snow-white hair made him look like an evil god. Facing Dugu Ju's blade art, Young Snake Lord was forced to retreat step by step, and his heart was filled with shock. 9 snakes entering body. Left with no other choice, young Snake Lord used the secret art he had prepared to fight against young Elephant Artist and the others. This secret art was a secret art of the nine-headed snake clan of the half-demon race. If one's realm was not high enough, it would bring harm to one's body and affect one's future cultivation. However, young Snake Lord did not care about that, and he did not need to care about that, because the Life and Death Palace allowed him to use the 9 snakes entering body without any worries, and he did not need to worry about getting injured. In such a rare battlefield, how could he not use his full strength? The 9-headed snake shadow rapidly shrunk and merged into young Snake Lord's body. Instantly, an intense demonic aura surged out from young Snake Lord's body. This demonic aura was extremely ferocious, and it greatly amplified young Snake Lord's aura. It was not inferior to young Elephant Artist's aura. This is the Sky Demon secret art. A term appeared in young Elephant Artist's mind. Sky Demon secret art was a general term for a type of secret art. This kind of secret art could only be cultivated by demonic beasts or half-demons with demonic beast bloodlines. Once the Sky Demon secret art was successfully cultivated, it could stimulate the bloodline power, causing one's strength to increase explosively. If it was a demonic beast using the Sky Demon secret art, it could even make one's innate ability even more powerful. As a perfect half-demon, young Snake Lord only had half of the 9-headed snake bloodline in his body, but it was still very impressive. When the 9-headed snake bloodline was stimulated, the human bloodline would be suppressed. Die. Young Snake Lord seemed to have lost all his bones. Each of his movements was completely unrestrained. Sometimes, he would clearly attack from the front, but in the next moment, he might appear from the side. His explosiveness and flexibility were both astonishing. Dugu Ju's blade couldn't hit him at all, and he fell into a disadvantageous position. Entanglement. Finding a gap, young Snake Lord suddenly broke through Duguju's protective Jinyuan. His soft, boneless body coiled around Duguju's body. He was only 1 meter and 80 centimeters tall, but now, he was stretched to 3 to 4 meters, looking like a huge snake. A huge snake coiling around one's body was extremely frightening. Unless one's strength was several times greater than his, it would be impossible to break free. One could only be coiled to death. There was no other possibility. Disgusting. Dugu Ju suddenly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were completely pale, and one look at them made one's soul feel like it was being sucked in. At this moment, young Snake Lord's body was only halfway coiled, and his head reached Dugu Ju's chest. Dugu Ju lowered his head, and the two's eyes unavoidably met for an instant. Ah! Young Snake Lord screamed as if he had been struck by lightning. He slid down from Dugu Ju's body. Dugu Ju was expressionless as he raised his blade and killed young Snake Lord. Dugu Ju's victory. From then on, apart from Marquis Swordstar, Luo Tianju, and young Elephant Lord, all the top rankers of the previous Life and Death Realm substitute list lost to the young geniuses of the new generation. This was a rare occurrence. Every time Life and Death Secret Realm opened, 2 or 3 powerful newcomers would appear, which was already very rare. This time, the number of powerful newcomers was far more than 2 or 3. Godly Shark Princess Sho Ruoqing vs Luo Tianju. As the second ranker of the previous Life and Death Realm substitute list, Luo Tianju's strength was unfathomable. Facing Sho Ruoqing's fierce attack, he condensed 9 thick thunder dragons around his body. 9 dragons defense. Sho Ruoqing couldn't break through the 9 thick thunder dragons, so she was naturally defeated. Next, Yi Chen finally learned what Jiang Tian had obtained in the graveyard of 4 Extreme Emperor. Jiang Tian had obtained a space profound protective martial skill. By relying on this martial skill, he was able to fight evenly with Marquis Swordstar at the early stage. However, the two were a small realm apart after all, so the victory still belonged to Marquis Swordstar. Space Profound can assimilate and devour energy. Yi Chen had a deep understanding of Space Profound. 2 names lit up on the stele once again. Yi Chen, Dantai Mingyu. Yi Chen, I know you've also obtained something related to Space Profound in the graveyard of 4 Extreme Emperor. Use it. Otherwise, you won't be able to break my spatial teleportation. Dantai Mingyu was extremely confident in her spatial teleportation. It was a high-grade profound movement art. I will if necessary. Yi Chen nodded. All right, be careful. Dantai Mingyu didn't immediately use spatial teleportation, as it was not the time yet. Her movement art was ethereal and swift, like a sprinkling of moonlight. Midway, she raised her palm and condensed a large amount of moonlight. The moonlight was like a millstone, blossoming with a lustrous radiance as it slapped toward Yi Chen without a sound. Waning moon, Yi Chen's sword swept out, shattering the moonlight and sending a biting cold sword energy toward Dantai Mingyue's face. Formless moon soul. Swish. Dantai Mingyue's body seemed to have turned into a moonlight. The formless moonlight pierced through the sword energy, arriving not far from Yi Chen in a flash and sending out 64 palm strikes in a row. The 64 palm strikes were completed in one breath, forming a formation that enveloped Yi Chen within. Immediately, a large amount of moonlight exploded, several times brighter than the moon. Too slow. Yi Chen appeared behind Dantai Mingyu out of nowhere and stabbed out with his sword. Not slow at all. Just right. Dantai Mingyue's body twisted and disappeared, appearing behind Yi Chen at the same time. The corners of Dantai Mingyue's mouth curled into a smile as she pressed her palm forward. Puff. Yi Chen's body shattered, but there was no blood spilling out. It was a shadow doppelganger. It turned out that Yi Chen knew that Dantai Mingyu could teleport. Unless he used bewitching mirror shattering to lock the opponent in place, it would be impossible to defeat her in one go. Therefore, Yi Chen used a shadow doppelganger to deceive everyone. If it was a normal person who encountered such a situation, they would definitely panic. However, the smile on Dantai Mingyue's face did not disappear in the slightest. Her body crumbled like moonlight, turning into specks of light. Unknowingly, another her appeared in another place, and in that place, Yi Chen was also there, with his back facing her. The spectators were confused. Only a small portion of them could see that after Dantai Mingyu teleported the first time, she left behind a moonlight doppelganger and continued teleporting. She seemed to have guessed that it was not the real Yi Chen. Chapter 859. Yi Chen, you lose. Dantai Mingyue's right hand slapped towards Yi Chen's back without a trace of smoke or fire. It seemed slow, but it was fast. Even Yi Chen couldn't dodge it in such a short time. Worthy of the space teleportation art. In terms of movement speed, there is no way I can surpass her. Yi Chen had done so much just to prove one thing. What realm had Dantai Mingyue's comprehension of the space teleportation art reached? If it was just the first step, it wouldn't be a big problem. With his understanding of space profound, he could easily defeat his opponent. However, what had just happened proved that Dantai Mingyue's space teleportation art had reached a higher level. Sizzle. 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 Dantai Mingyue's palm didn't hurt Yi Chen. From between Yi Chen's right arm and his body, a great sword appeared. The great sword was like a venomous snake hissing, colliding with Dantai Mingyue's gloved palm. The powerful forces cancelled each other out, creating a sharp noise that made people's teeth ache. Dantai Mingyu retreated dozens of steps, looking at Yi Chen with astonishment. Did he know that this would happen? Turning around, Yi Chen smiled and said, "Your space profound should have reached a lower level, right? No wonder why you could perform space teleportation." Space teleportation required one to move along the path of space waves. Without a deep understanding of space profound, it was impossible. Dantai Mingyu was indeed a monstrous genius. Before Yi Chen showed up, she and Dugu Ju were called the top two monstrous geniuses. Not bad, but I still fell into your trap. Dantai Mingyu nodded, not denying it. She had obtained the void-shattering finger art a long time ago. With the void-shattering finger art, she had naturally comprehended the space profound. When she had obtained the space teleportation art, her space profound had already reached 20%. That was why she could cultivate the space teleportation art to a higher level in just 1 or 2 years. It can't be considered a scheme. If I wasn't cautious about spatial teleportation, then I would be too careless. Yi Chen shook his head. What a terrifying person. He has almost no flaws. Dantai Mingyu sighed inwardly and said, although I couldn't defeat you, you also didn't break my teleportation technique. I wonder what you will do next. Teleportation also requires time. As long as time is needed, there will be a way to break it. Yi Chen said calmly. Hehe, since you're so confident, let's start again. The space twisted, and Dantai Mingyu suddenly appeared on the right side of Yi Chen, then on the left side of Yi Chen. Dantai Mingyue's figures were everywhere. Yi Chen understood Dantai Mingyue's purpose of doing this. She wanted to use the space teleportation art to create space ripples, which would naturally confuse people's senses. What Yi Chen didn't know was that the biggest reason why Dantai Mingyu wanted to do this was because he was her opponent. She didn't think that Yi Chen would be defeated so easily. The previous situation was enough to prove it. Space ripples spread everywhere. Dantai Mingyue's silent appearance caused little space ripples, which were hidden in other space ripples. Raising her palm, Dantai Mingyu was about to attack. Sword domain. A majestic sword pressure burst out from Yi Chen's body, instantly affecting Dantai Mingyue's body. Her figure suddenly stagnated, and her palm could no longer move. A cold star lit up. Yi Chen had attacked. Very fast. So fast that Dantai Mingyu was almost killed. Puff. A wisp of blood sprayed, and Dantai Mingyue's figure was nowhere to be seen. At the crucial moment, Dantai Mingyu forcibly used spatial teleportation to escape from the sword domain. However, because Yi Chen's sword was too fast, she was still stabbed in the shoulder, leaving a sword scar. This sword pressure. From afar, Dantai Mingyu looked over. It was impossible for Dantai Mingyu not to know that Yi Chen had dealt with the young undying demon lord's sword pressure. Now, she finally experienced it herself. It was very powerful. Without spatial teleportation, she would have been defeated without any suspense. Indeed troublesome, but there's still a flaw. With a faint smile, Yi Chen walked toward Dantai Mingyu. Dantai Mingyu revealed a doubtful expression, not knowing what Yi Chen was going to do. When the distance between the two was less than 20 meters, Dantai Mingyu couldn't bear it anymore. Her figure twisted, and she teleported away. This is the moment. Before Dantai Mingyu disappeared, Yi Chen had already attacked, stabbing toward the upper right. This sword pierced through the space, leaving a pitch-black hole. Puff. Dantai Mingyue's figure appeared, and her chest was stabbed. Since this sword had even pierced through space, her heart was also shattered by the power of space. Dantai Mingyu really wanted to ask how Yi Chen did it. However, she didn't have the time to ask. Where's the flaw? Inside the secret chamber, Dantai Mingyu mumbled to herself. Spatial teleportation. Instant is also time. It means that there's a movement path, and there's a time axis. As long as we follow the path of the spatial fluctuation, we can intercept it in advance. If Yi Chen could do it, it didn't mean that others could. Yi Chen's soul force was 5 times stronger than ordinary people. At the same time, he was also proficient in Space Profound. His attainment in Space Profound was even higher than Dantai Mingyu. Breaking the spatial teleportation was just a matter of time. Of course, it didn't mean that other than Yi Chen, there was no one who could be Dantai Mingyue's opponent. Without fighting, no one would know what the other party was capable of. Yi Chen's strength didn't need to be mentioned. Dantai Mingyue's spatial teleportation made many ponder. When they faced Dantai Mingyu, how should they deal with it? Obviously, they couldn't be like Yi Chen, seeing through the flaw and attacking in advance. Next, Du Guju and Lan Sanmai met. Both of them were blade artists, and their blade arts were unique. One was proficient in the demonic blade arts, and his close and long-range attacks were ridiculously strong. The other used the despair blade intent to push his blade art, like an evil god. Clank, clank. In the secret chamber that was 1,000 meters in length and width, sparks flew everywhere as the blades clashed. Such a strange blade technique. Du Guju's palm was numb, and he almost dropped his blade. Du Guju wasn't having a good time, but Lan Sanmai wasn't having a good time either. She frowned secretly. Du Guju's blade art was too powerful. Although the demonic blade arts could shake the opponent's blade, there was also a rebound force. If her blade's strength was 90, then Duguju's was at least 95. Demonic chop. Holding the blade with both hands, Lan Sanmai slashed out. The blade light became blurry, and in an instant, no one knew how many times it shook, and even the space was shattered. Absolute blade. Duguju's blade art was propelled by the despair blade intent. The stronger the despair blade intent, the more powerful the blade art. Duguju also held his blade with both hands and slashed out. The blade light was deathly white, slashing through the space. Clank. As the two blades clashed, Duguju's arm went numb for a split second. Lan Sanmai seized the opportunity. Taking advantage of the moment when Duguju's arm went numb, she slashed out with her devil blade. Poochie. Duguju's head was sent flying, unable to dodge. Lan Sanmai won. Lost. Everyone from True Spirit Continent revealed a shocked expression. If his cultivation base were the same as mine, I would be the one who lost. Lan Sanmai smiled bitterly. Even before entering the life and death secret realm, her cultivation base had already reached the peak of the first layer. And now, her cultivation base had already broken through to the third layer, while Duguju was only at the second layer. Relying on the disparity in cultivation base, she was able to paralyze her opponent for a split second. At this moment, the 22nd round had already begun. 23rd round, the highlight had arrived. Marquis Sword Snow vs Dantai Mingyu. Yi Chen had defeated Dantai Mingyu as a sword artist. Many people wanted to know whether Marquis Sword Snow could defeat Dantai Mingyu. If he couldn't, then he would most likely not be Yi Chen's opponent. Everyone was very realistic. On the stage, Marquis Sword Snow and Dantai Mingyu stood facing each other. This Marquis Sword Snow can't be underestimated. Dantai Mingyu didn't see any trace of impulsiveness from Marquis Sword Snow's body. The latter was like an ancient well without ripples. Buzz. Dantai Mingyu made her move. Using her teleportation art, she instantly appeared behind Marquis Sword Snow and sent a palm strike. Marquis Sword Snow's figure flickered as he turned around and attacked. What caused the crowd to go into an uproar was that Dantai Mingyu's palm strike was a feint. Seeing that Marquis Sword Snow was about to make a move, she immediately retracted her palm and teleported in front of him. However, the most splendid scene had happened. Marquis Sword Snow didn't even turn around. It was just a feint, and Dantai Mingyu appeared right in front of him. Snowflakes danced in the sky as Marquis Sword Snow's sword was unsheathed at some point in time, emitting a biting cold sword chi. Sigh. A wisp of blood danced in the air, dyeing a snowflake red. Too frightening. In the distance, Dantai Mingyu still had a lingering fear in her heart. There was a faint sword mark on the edge of her neck. If it wasn't for her quick reaction, her throat would have been pierced in that instant. Amazing. She actually grasped so many things from the battle between me and Dantai Mingyu. Yi Chen's eyes lit up. He could tell that Marquis Sword Snow's learning ability was very strong. He had easily grasped the method to deal with Dantai Mingyu. As for whether or not he could truly break the teleportation art, it was still unknown. The battle continued for a dozen more rounds, but Dantai Mingyu couldn't do anything to Marquis Sword Snow. The latter's perception was too powerful, not any weaker than Yi Chen's. Most importantly, his sword arts were impossible to guard against. If Yi Chen's sword arts were full of explosive power, then Marquis Sword Snow's were gorgeous. Snow dance in the sky. Bang! Marquis Sword Snow, who had been blocking soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir, surprisingly took the initiative to attack. His sword arts were gorgeous and fast to the extreme. Snowflakes filled the entire chamber, and for a moment, the spectators couldn't see the two in the chamber. They could only see vague shadows. Poochie. Amidst the snowflakes, a sword mark flickered and disappeared. At the end of the mark, blood spurted out as Dantai Mingyu's throat was pierced. Too powerful. I originally thought that Yi Chen was stronger than Marquis Sword Snow, but now, I don't think so. This Marquis Sword Snow is simply too powerful. His sword arts are gorgeous and dreamy. How did Marquis Sword Snow defeat Dantai Mingyu? Did you see it? If I could see it, would I be able to contend for the top 5? Marquis Sword Snow's strength had subdued the majority of people. At this moment, even a portion of people on True Spirit Continent had begun to doubt Yi Chen. Yi Chen was indeed powerful, but this Marquis Sword Snow was also ridiculously powerful. Chapter 860. Yi Chen is in danger this time. Lu Xiaoyu had fought with Marquis Sword Snow before, so he knew how frightening Marquis Sword Snow was. If a sword artist could be fast and accurate, he would already be considered a first-rate sword artist. If he could achieve fine details, he would be considered a top-rate sword artist. However, Marquis Sword Snow's sword arts were still beautiful and dreamy under fine details. Clearly, he had already reached perfection in fine details. Without fighting, no one knows the result. What's the point of guessing? Bai Wuxue shook his head. The points battle proceeded very quickly. In Life and Death Palace, one could not die. Therefore, everyone took out their trump cards, striving to kill their opponents in one strike. It was not like the outside world, where they would first probe and then gradually increase their strength. After all, they only had one life. If they fought with their lives on the line, it would be either you die or I die. 23rd round ended. 24th round, the first battle was between Xu Jing and Young Undying Demon Lord. Young Undying Demon Lord's undying body made many apprehensive. Not everyone had the same ability as Yi Chen, who could instantly suppress Young Undying Demon Lord and easily kill him. If they wanted to kill Young Undying Demon Lord, they would have to be stronger than him. Otherwise, they would only be tortured. However, this time, the one being tortured was not Xu Jing, but Young Undying Demon Lord. Peng! Fist against fist, a berserk shockwave swept out in all directions. Young Undying Demon Lord's right arm cracked open, and he was sent flying while spurting out blood. Xu Jing's golden dragon power was more than 500,000 kilograms. It wasn't something that an undying body could withstand. Moreover, compared to ordinary vital energy, the golden dragon power was purer and more domineering. It was a top-tier vital energy. Recover for me. Young Undying Demon Lord's undying body had already reached the point of regrowing broken limbs. This was the innate advantage of the Undying Demon ART's upgrade to a heaven-grade art. Circulating the Undying Demon art, Young Undying Demon Lord's right arm grew back. He clenched his right fist, producing creaking sounds as if two pieces of steel were being squeezed together. Poison Dragon Fist. How could Xu Jing give him the chance to regroup? A golden flame burst out, pierced through the air, and landed a punch on the Young Undying Demon Lord's protective Zhen Yuan. Under Xu Jing's attack, the Zhen Yuan was no different from tofu, and a huge hole was easily opened. The fist shrouded in golden energy made a small dent in the Young Undying Demon Lord's chest armor. Bang! Blood mist exploded as the Young Undying Demon Lord's 5 viscera and 6 bowels were instantly shattered. His ridiculously strong Young Undying Demon Lord was killed just like that. This woman's strength is at least in the top 3 of the life and death substitute list. Compared to a battle of skills, Xu Jing's crushing style of battle was much more convincing. Moreover, watching a gentle and beautiful woman turn into a goddess of war was also a delightful thing. Following that, there were also some popular contestants competing against each other. However, these were all contestants for the top 5, so they weren't that excited. At present, there were 8 people competing for the top 5: Marquis Swordstar, Marquis Sword Snow, Luo Tianju, Yi Chen, Xu Jing, Dantai Mingyu, Young Elephant Lord, and Lan Sanmai. Admittedly, there was a chance of an upset, and a new popular contestant would emerge. However, with the progress of the points battle, such a possibility was too small, almost impossible. Marquis Sword Snow vs Lan Sanmai. The second to last battle of the 24th round, another peak confrontation began. Marquis Sword Snow, a sword Dao monster of Skysword Continent. His sword arts were gorgeous and dreamy, especially the one he used to kill Dantai Mingyu. It left many people horrified, as they had never seen such a gorgeous sword art before. Demonis Saber Lan Sanmai, the #1 young blade artist of Blood Sky Continent, as well as the #1 young blade artist of Elysium. At least for now, it wouldn't be easy for Dugu Ju to surpass her. A confrontation between a sword artist and a blade artist had always been exciting. Not to mention that their statuses among blade artists and sword artists were both at the very top. Lan Sanmai was well aware of how frightening Marquis Sword Snow was. Therefore, she didn't dare to attack recklessly. She waved her black demonic blade, sending out a black saber chi that slashed toward Marquis Sword Snow. Marquis Sword Snow's figure flickered like a flickering light, brushing past the black saber chi. With a cry, his sword was unsheathed, filling the sky with snowflakes. What a fast sword! Lan Sanmei's pupils shrank as she hurriedly waved her blade to block. Clang! Lan Sanmai retreated a few steps, her figure staggering. Around her, traces of sword chi splashed out. He blocked it. Worthy of being the Demonis saber, up until now, no one had been able to block Marquis Sword Snow's sword unscathed. Even Dantai Mingyu, who had the fastest movement speed, was almost pierced in the throat. Snowflakes dance. Snowflakes no longer fell down. Instead, they fluttered in the air and pierced toward Lan Sanmai. These snowflakes were condensed from Marquis Sword Snow's sword chi. They were incomparably cold and sharp. If one didn't try their best to defend, even their protective Jin Yuan wouldn't be able to block them. Break! Lan Sanmai let out a delicate shout. Her black demonic blade danced in an airtight manner, blocking all the snowflakes outside of an eggshell-like black blade screen. Hey! Marquis Sword Snow's eyes lit up. Lan Sanmei's blade arts contained vibrating power. The snowflakes condensed from sword chi were originally not that easy to block. However, upon encountering the vibrating power, they immediately disintegrated, turning into formless chi currents. Demonic chop! The black blade screen shattered, and Lan Sanmei's figure suddenly rushed forward. She waved her demonic blade and slashed out a deep black blade light. The blade light turned blurry, and even the space was shattered. In the small chamber, Dugu Ju's eyes were ice cold. It was precisely this blade that had defeated him. The blade light was as fast as a swan, arriving in a flash. Clang! With Marquis Sword Snow at the center, a large amount of dazzling sparks shot out in all directions. The continuous collision of blades and swords caused Lan Sanmai to retreat dozens of steps. She said in astonishment, "You actually broke my demonic chop with a revolving power?" Demonic chop was a peerless blade art that could only be used at greater completion. The vibrating power contained within was far beyond that of ordinary blade arts. Under this blade, even Dugu Ju, whose blade power was higher than hers, would have to bear a grudge. From this, one could see how frightening this blade was. On the other hand, Marquis Sword Snow's body rotated the moment the blade light reached him. His long sword also followed suit, continuously weakening the vibrating power contained in demonic chop. What a frightening blade artist! What a frightening sword artist! Everyone was astonished. Whether it was Lan Sanmei's demonic chop or Marquis Sword Snow's revolving sword art, both were terrifyingly powerful. Moreover, Lan Sanmai was the one who had exchanged the most moves with Marquis Sword Snow since the start of the point battle. If it were someone else, they would have been defeated long ago. With my strength, it's impossible to defeat him. I can only use that move. A thought flickered in Lan Sanmei's mind, and her gaze turned cold. Swish! Lan Sanmai quickly approached Marquis Sword Snow while hiding the black demonic blade at his waist. Marquis Sword Snow's intuition told him that Lan Sanmei's blade was extremely frightening. His expression turned grave, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. Annihilation chop! Lan Sanmei's right arm turned indistinct as he instantly shot out a blade strike. The vibrating frequency of this strike was even higher than demonic chops, to the point that before the strike could be completely unleashed, countless flowers of blood blossomed on Lan Sanmei's right arm. This was a sign that his body couldn't bear the vibrating frequency. As the blade was unleashed, the space shattered and shattered. Delightful! Only in the Life and Death Palace would I dare to unleash this strike. As soon as the blade was unleashed, Lan Sanmei's spirit, chi, and soul seemed to have been emptied. Freezing sword point. Marquis Sword Snow's expression had never been so grave before. His sword shot out almost at the same time as Lan Sanmei's blade. An ice-blue trajectory brushed past the demonic blade. Due to the vibrating power contained in the demonic blade being too powerful, Marquis Sword Snow's sword, which was originally aimed at Lan Sanmei's throat, was deflected, and ultimately pierced the latter's left shoulder. Catcher. Lan Sanmei's left shoulder was instantly sealed in ice, which quickly spread to his chest and abdomen. With a bang, a small half of Lan Sanmei's body shattered like an ice sculpture. Lan Sanmei had been defeated. On the other hand, Marquis Sword Snow's left arm had been severed from the elbow, and his blood dyed the ground red. For the first time, Marquis Sword Snow was gravely injured, losing an arm. In the small chamber, Lan Sanmei sighed, Annihilation Chop can only be used when one has reached perfection in demonic blade arts. If it was outside, this strike would have severely injured the user. It's a blade move that kills 1,000 enemies while injuring oneself 800. Unfortunately, I still couldn't beat him. That sword's power was condensed into a single point, not even the slightest bit leaking out. If it hadn't brushed past the demonic blade, my whole body would have been sealed in ice and shattered. Marvelous, truly marvelous. This battle could be said to be a pinnacle battle. Marquis Sword Snow's sword art and Lan Sanmei's blade art had left the majority of the audience gasping in amazement. One has vibrating power, and the other has compressed power. Very troublesome. Yi Chen had seen everything. He had long since witnessed Lan Sanmei's demonic blade arts. Its destructive power was extremely frightening, just like the cutting machines of Yi Chen's world. As long as the vibrating power was sufficient, it could easily cut through steel. Marquis Sword Snow's freezing sword point, on the other hand, was a sword move that completely compressed the power at the tip of the sword. Compared to young Undying Demon Lord's chaotic world calamity, this freezing sword point was more reserved, and its destructive power was also greater. The battle between Lan Sanmei and Marquis Sword Snow had ended, and only one battle remained in the 24th round. Everybody looked toward the stone stele. Two names lit up. Yi Chen against Marquis Sword Star. Heavens! Another pinnacle battle, and it's a sword artist against a sword artist. Marquis Sword Star is the #1 young sword artist of Skysword Continent in name. His strength is unfathomable, probably not below Marquis Sword Snow. Although this Yi Chen looks a bit inferior on the surface, he might have some powerful killing moves. I wonder who will win. Most likely Marquis Sword Star. He was the last life and death substitute list's first ranker, and his cultivation base has also reached the peak of the 3rd layer. The gap is not small. Yeah, Yi Chen's chances of winning are quite small. But, as long as he can keep up with the battle between Lan Sanmei and Marquis Sword Snow, it'll be fine. Hopefully, he won't be unable to injure Marquis Sword Star. The battle between Yi Chen and Marquis Sword Star had stirred up a heated discussion among the crowd. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.